It is 6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. Friday, San Francisco 49ers and quarterback Brock Purdy agreed on a massive 5-year, $265 million extension from Mr. Irrelevant to the one of the league's highest paid players. Purdy's deal includes $181 million in guarantees and will have an average of $53 million per year. And the conference finals are set in the NBA. The New York Knicks routed the Boston Celtics in Game 6 Friday night, winning 119-81. They will host the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals for Game 1 on Wednesday. Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder cruised past the Denver Nuggets in Game 7, 125-93, securing their spot in the Western Conference Finals. OKC will host the Minnesota Timberwolves starting tomorrow night for Game 1. In the NHL, Dallas Stars beat the Winnipeg Jets in overtime Saturday night, 2-1 in Game 6, securing their spot in the Western Conference Final. And they'll host the Edmonton Oilers. Game 1 is Wednesday. Last night, the Florida Panthers routed the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-1 in Game 7, and they'll travel to face the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Final for Game 1 tomorrow night. And Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, securing his third major title. He had a tournament record $3.42 million first-place prize. Scheffler won with a 5-stroke victory over Harris English, Bryson DeChambeau, and Davis Riley. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning and a brand new week begins right here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome in. Good morning. This is Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. 615-737-1045 is the number. We stream it live with our beautiful faces for radio on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran, Vol Network football analyst Ramon Foster.
Hey.
Justin Hawkins, our producer. My name is Will Bowling. Coming up today, Caleb Williams has a problem, and it's called the film room. We'll discuss that coming up with the 11-year NFL veteran in the room. There is a big proposed NFL rule change that could change pro football as we know it. That is going to come up this week. We'll talk about that this morning in hour 2. VolQuest, Eric Cain, the Monday roast. Ramon Foster, good morning. How we doing?
We're good, man. Good morning, man.
Good to be
How
back.
are you? How
Great.
are you?
Good.
Good. Same here. I think we both on the road this weekend, too, man. I know you had to go on a bird to a certain destination for a wedding, and I also had...
Not a scooter, a plane.
Yeah, not a scooter. By the way, where I went also had Scooters Coffee. I was in Covington, Tennessee.
Nice.
Where my folks is from in West Tennessee, man. Well, I was in Dyersburg, Covington, Ripley. I was in all of those places this past weekend, and I'm driving down. You know how it is in little small towns and stuff, right? I'm riding around in Covington trying to see what's new. Well, right next to the Sonics, Scooters Coffee. I was like, let's go.
So Scooters actually does have an S at the end of it.
Yeah, it does, actually.
Easier for you.
It's easier for me. But what I will say, even before we get to the morning roast, I got a roast already, Will. That's so important to
Hit
do.
me.
Man, hear me out. I love going to West Tennessee when I get the opportunity to. 40 East, 40 West, man, there's always something going on, either by Rosa Parks, soon as you come through Nashville.
Okay.
Back when I was in college, it was always something there, okay? I hated that drive. But coming back, I knew I couldn't leave too late because there was going to be some kind of traffic situation on the interstate.
Always?
40 East on Saturday. Dog, hear me out. I'm talking about there was I'm not going to go Babs on this one, okay? Look, I'm okay with you left lane drivers if you're going 75 plus.
You're really not.
I'm not, but here's the thing.
For the sake of this argument,
As soon as we hit like Jackson, Tennessee, there was a left lane line from Jackson, okay, by the baseball park all the way into Nashville. And it's because they had like different stopping spots, I guess, of like T-Dot is working on stuff and trying to repave. But dog, it was by far the worst drive I've ever had since about like 05, 06, to be quite honest with you.
Goodness.
It was stop and go.
That
You go
bad.
2 miles and then you're slowing down.
How long did it take you to get back?
It took me about 4 hours.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, that was pretty iffy, Jack. And I had to calm myself down and be like, be cool. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, sure.
But what I was doing, though, is for all the people that were in the left lane, I drove on the right side. It was way faster on the right side than it
zoom by
was.
him.
It was by far one of the most ridiculous trips I've had in a very long time coming back, but I made it.
That is
Boom.
one of
Roasted.
the more overrated parts of our wonderful state is the 2-lane interstates from Memphis to Johnson City, with a couple of exceptions, obviously, where it gets bigger. But that's one of the best parts about, like, if you're driving to something in Kentucky or you're driving through Alabama. Well, Alabama's kind of the same way.
Georgia.
Driving through Georgia.
Yeah.
You get that extra lane, makes a world of a difference.
I'm talking about a world of difference.
Yeah,
dude.
for sure.
It was eye-opening to me. I was just like, okay, yeah, this is how you can ruin the weekend.
Sure. Well, I learned over this weekend that every time I go to these, like, Atlantic cities, like I was in Baltimore, or just outside Baltimore, I was in Frederick, Maryland for a wedding that my lovely fiance was in. And Maryland is very green. There's a lot of, like, countryside.
Tripped me out, too.
It's like a very beautiful, like, lush state.
Virginia tricked me like
Well,
that.
yeah, Virginia, I knew that way.
no
but
idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that Maryland was so lovely. It was fun.
Beside Baltimore, as they like to call
and
it.
a lot of crab. A lot of crab and Old Bay seasoning was in my life over the weekend.
Now I'm a little jealous of that.
Well, especially if you're like, Peyton was in the wedding and I was just sent on side quests for like half the time. So I just had a rental car and like my own place to stay, just went back, watched a lot of baseball, watched a lot of Netflix, and ate a lot of crab cake sandwiches. They were very good.
Man, by the way, I could hardly ever do like a crab cake sandwich.
Really?
Like any other version of it, I'm cool. I don't think bread should be on top of it like that.
It is very rich.
It's very rich.
Like it's very filling in a very short amount of time because it's more filling than what it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it certainly is.
That's exactly what it is. Real question is, at this wedding, you said it's cool to say your fiance was a maid of honor.
Yeah.
In this one?
Yeah.
Were there any cool speeches given by like some degenerate guy? Because
so
some people have them saved.
Yeah, there were 4 speeches total, and she was the best one, obviously, because she's a professional
what we talking
communicator on NewsTube, anchoring this morning as well. And there were 4 with nothing crazy.
Okay.
Just standard stuff. Good. I mean, they were fine. Yeah.
I saw something because I've seen people like save speeches and say these are the speeches.
Everyone read them.
Okay, cool.
Which I am of the opinion, and Peyton like had like a sheet, but she didn't really read it. She just like had it for guidance. I would rather give a little bit less polished of a speech and not read it versus just read words off of a page.
Yeah.
That's my my toast rule for myself.
If I'm ever doing a speech like that, especially one where it's got to come from the heart, because that's what you're looking for in those moments,
of course,
right there.
right.
If
Totally.
it's from the heart, I just write down my bullet points because when the emotions kick in, you lose track of what you want to say. And the worst thing you can do especially at a wedding speech is start rambling. Or sit down and be like, dang, let me get the mic back again.
Brevity is the most important part of giving a wedding toast.
Yeah.
You must have been at my wedding then.
Your wedding was like that?
My best man, he struggled through it.
Oh, no.
He got up there and he said, I didn't have anything prepared. Got up there, he started rambling. You know, I've known Justin this long, this and this. And we're all like, you know what? Just come sit back down. Come sit back down. I appreciate the love, but come sit back down.
Yeah.
Please sit back down. I've been there before. I've seen others be in this situation before too. Or the ones that talk a little bit too much and just like, no, don't say that.
Right.
We were good.
Yep.
But yeah, besides that, man, it was a solid weekend. I had 2 nieces graduate. My wife, Keisha, man, she made this. Have you seen this money bouquet thing?
No. Money bouquet.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you take flowers to a graduation?
Yeah.
So instead of like flowers, Keisha went to Pinterest of all places.
Sure.
Okay. And made this big bouquet with like money. And it was just like, okay, instead of money in a card, she was a
That
hit.
lasts a lot longer than the flowers.
It does. We had older people coming up to her. Can I also be your relative? I want to graduate.
Wow, I think
too.
I'm your other niece, your nephew.
And by the way, speaking of which, too, see, now I'm remembering speeches and stuff.
Yeah,
all
right.
But that's beside it. Dyersburg was the graduation I went to, so my niece went to.
Yep.
They had, I'm not sure how far Dyersburg went in state for football. 2 D1 players on that team, okay? Kaylin, I forget his last name, going to Kentucky. And then they also have a 6'8" tackle going to Mississippi State.
Wow, nice.
One, I'm talking about, I've seen a couple of.
The Dyersburg Trojans made it the second round last year.
Second round.
Lost to Westview.
Well,
Westview, Ty Simpson's little brother, the quarterback.
Yeah, okay. Well, that explains a lot more.
Class 3A.
Dyersburg, they got turf too, by the way. I was telling my boys as we was walking up, I was like, hey, I'm not sure they're going to let me up in here. It was like, why, Dad? I said, because I kicked a lot of ass down here, okay? They looked at me.
Back in the glory days.
They looked at me and was just like, Dad, stop. You're not that cool, but I am. I also is why I met one of Ron Slade's friends at that time. So I see he's in the chat. We had a jamboree at Dyersburg.
Oh.
And somebody came up to me, I know your brother. And I was just like, do you? Well, all right then. That's all I'll say about that one. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
That's how you know you found a friend. Somebody says, I know your brother.
I know Ron Slade.
Especially when you're talking about your brother specifically.
Yeah, I know, right?
Titans fans got to see Cam Ward in a Titans jersey over the weekend. NFLPA rookie premiere going on in Los Angeles. I may or may not have run into Cam and Alec Iamander coming back from L.A. yesterday. They were at baggage claim the exact same time that we are. It's kind of funny. Did a little bit of like a triple take. Like, wait a minute, that's Cam Ward over there. Bigger guy than I expected.
What you mean
in
by
person?
that?
He's just taller and thicker, bigger.
Really?
Than I expected. Okay. But I didn't talk to him, didn't bother him, and he was kind of incognito a little bit. They wanted to honor that with athletes anytime they're out in the wild. But the light blue jersey, white pants, and red cleats. NFLPA rookie premiere. Again, these are thirst traps for Titans fans who get excited seeing their number one overall pick quarterback in a Titans jersey.
Yeah. No, that's what's up. Iamander and Malik. I mean, not Malik.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is a demerit.
That's a big time demerit.
That is a demerit. I'm sorry, Titans fans.
Don't you put that evil on me?
No.
Or on Cam Ward?
On Cam. Yeah,
we'll give you a fine, too.
I have to pour back into the pot on that one. That's dope, though, man. I'm actually shocked that when you told me that, like, there weren't, like, autograph guys outside the airport.
No. Cam had his hood up, was just kind of chilling, so... Yeah, I wanted to honor that. I wasn't going to go up and say anything.
Man,
I'm not really that kind of person.
I'd have went over there and said something to him. Well, you're a good one, though.
You're a little more recognizable than I am.
Well, no, you talk about him. We talk about him every single day.
He would know who you are. Yeah. I don't think he would know who I am.
We talk about him every single day. At least we'll get familiar with him. But besides that, man, it's cool seeing those guys do that rookie premiere, though. The NFLPA comes. I was telling y'all, there was a couple of a couple of accounts that were upset where they were placed at and stuff. But it is what it is at this point, man. Those dudes are getting the eyes that you want when it comes down to what the Tennessee Titans team need moving forward to. So I'm excited to see how bigger their legend grows, though, more than anything, specifically Cam.
Yes.
You need it.
Still no linemen invited to the rookie premiere event by the NFLPA.
You know what? I almost made part of that my morning roast.
Save it. We got a lot of show left.
Yeah, we do got a lot of show left.
615-737-1045. Stream it live on 1045 The Zone TV. Hit the subscribe button and the like button while you're there with us. Where most of our community hangs out on the 1045 The Zone YouTube channel. Coming up, Caleb Williams has a few problems, one of which happens in the film room. The other is what his dad wanted to do before he was picked by the Chicago Bears. We'll dive into the story of the weekend in the NFL coming up next. Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooters Coffee. They are all around you here in Middle Tennessee. Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Alongside Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. I'm looking forward to having a lot of Scooters Coffee this week.
Same.
The Smyrna location will be seeing me. I'll be down in Murfreesboro doing the state track meet broadcast for NFHS Network the next 3 days. And I'm going to be running on a lot of caffeine and scooting on down quite a bit with that Smyrna location.
Yeah, you enjoy doing those races, though. I've heard you before. I think it's our first year on the job. My niece was running it anyway.
That's right.
And we heard you. Is that young lady from Brentwood High or
Nolensville?
Nolensville.
Claire Stegall.
Yeah.
Committed to Florida.
Did she commit to Florida?
Mm-hmm.
She break any state records?
All of them.
Yeah. That's all as
Her
a
and Abby Faith Cheeseman are like the two best female distance runners in the history of Tennessee high school distance running. I don't have the numbers in front of me. The two of the best. And they're both in the same class.
Take my word.
Different divisions.
Take my word. If y'all hadn't seen her, she's fast.
And
she's
there's a girl in
talented.
7th grade that is running even like better times at her age.
Are you serious?
That Peyton actually did a story on for News 2 a couple weeks ago.
Okay, I missed that one then, man.
Yeah.
Goodness. Well, when I saw her scoot around the track,
Oh, it's ridiculous.
God, it's ridiculous.
It's pretty crazy.
Most people can only imagine walking that fast.
That's right. That is right. So the Chicago Bears have a little bit of an issue, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
A new piece out, a new book out, coming out this fall, has excerpts from Seth Wickersham, author of American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. In the months before the 2024 draft, Carl Williams, Caleb Williams' dad, is quoted as saying, "Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die." Caleb Williams wondered aloud to people in his camp, because everyone has camps these days, do I want to go there? I don't think I can do it, with Waldron, talking about former Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. So this book, to be published in September, gives an account of what it means to be a quarterback at various levels, from high school to college to the NFL. People talked with Seth Wickersham, like John Elway. You've got members of the Manning family, Steve Young, Kirk Cousins, and Drake May talking about this. So in the book, Ramon, it says that Carl Williams went to great lengths to try to circumvent the NFL draft, wanting to give his son an opportunity to choose his future employer, wanting to go the Archie Manning route with Eli, or even go the Elway route, and basically just talk so bad about the team that they didn't want him to go to that they would just trade the pick and send him elsewhere. It's even worse that the team they really hit it off with was Minnesota, a division rival of the Chicago Bears. How big of an issue does all of this end up being for the Bears, for Caleb Williams, and for the entire team?
It's a lot, man. The fact that, well, I'll say this too. You also see they didn't go through with those things too, because in order to do that, you somewhat got to be a Elway or Manning to have that type of flex, man. Not smart on your part to do those types of things. I'll just say that first and foremost. But the other side of it to me is this, Will, is when you look at this situation, how public it's gotten and all that they've said and how it's been documented too. I don't think the pressure's on Chicago, the team, anymore. I look at this situation, I say, now it's on you, Caleb Williams, Carl Williams, and your camp. I legitimately see it that way right now, because here's the side of it to me. You said later that you think you can make it work there, but not just that. You were drafted number 1 overall to a team that needs your services, and I meant need your services too. Like, all the stuff that you were saying is stuff that you can control as a player too, for the most part. Now, I got to give it to Chicago, as much as many moves that they've made as of late. They're helping facilitate all things for Caleb Williams to be successful, too. They went and got him offensive lineman. They drafted another one this year. They gave away draft picks to get a couple also. And not just that, they've given him receivers. They've given him running backs. They've checked every single box that you possibly could to fight against what Carl Williams, Caleb Williams' dad, was saying they didn't do. So I think there's more pressure on Caleb Williams to be unique. I think there's more pressure on him to elevate that franchise, too. And the other part to me is this. Whatever happened to the players getting drafted to a situation and elevating a team? Right? You want the honor of being number 1. Let's go top 5 for that matter. You want the honor of being top 5. all your life if you're that type of player, right? Top 10, first round.
And there's a payday that comes with it.
There's a payday that comes with it. And with that, Will, unless a really good team is mortgaging their entire franchise to come get you at number one, you're not going to go to a good team. Where is the mindset? And I hope this isn't the portal mindset, the NIL mindset.
Yep.
I hope not, Will, before you ask that question, before you feel like you can facilitate everything to be successful.
That was where I was going to go next is, does the player empowerment era we are currently in college football encourage guys to get a little bit too big for their britches in the NFL draft? Is this a Caleb Williams problem specifically to say, now this guy's just a little bit different and his family and camp is a little bit different? Or is this the new normal now where players feel so empowered where they can move around, they can choose their surroundings, they can handpick their head coach, that they are so conditioned to try to do that again in the NFL?
I feel like it's there. I feel like it's bubbling more than anything. But what I've seen also is this: the NFL put a top on top of that pot. The NFL has done it, I feel like, a few times with guys that you feel like are bigger than the league or do stuff. We'll even start here with a guy like Isaiah Wilson, right? Isaiah probably felt like the league was his playground, in a sense, until you get shoved out. All right, you look at Shedeur situation, right? You feel like you can come in and do what you want to until the NFL, quiet as kept, does what it wants to. And the same thing goes for Caleb Williams and Carl Williams, right? As a family, they wanted to buck the system. So much so, Will, you mentioned Minnesota was a team they liked. Carl Williams, the father of Caleb, spoke with the brass of the Minnesota Vikings at the Combine.
Yeah. They all met at the Combine, and Caleb was like, oh, I hit it off with him. And he's quoted in here saying, I need to go to the Vikings.
What?
Caleb Williams telling that to his dad after the Combine meeting.
So you mean to tell me you're going to try to force the Minnesota Vikings to trade for it in a division team?
In-division trade.
What? So, no.
We're talking about the most expensive trade in NFL history is what that would be.
That would have easily...
100%.
I mean...
You're ruining your new team.
Yeah,
like Minnesota's never going to be able to put good players around you if you try to do that.
Ever in life. Yeah. And that's what they don't understand about the business of what the NFL is. And I think a lot of those families that come in with camps, I don't think there's anything wrong with setting yourself up. As soon as you walk into the league, here's your marketing, here's, all those things that you need as it pertains to your life. As long as, Will, to me, you do what you're supposed to do on the field. You can write your own history. Whatever happened to that era to where guys say, I'm going to change this thing around. To be quite honest with you, it's opposite of what Cam Ward is doing right now.
It is. So Bears GM Ryan Poles told Caleb Williams during the draft process, we are drafting you no matter what. Caleb was concerned that if they did try and basically talk so negatively about Chicago publicly in the media, and then the Bears still refuse to trade him, it would make a tough situation worse. In the end, Caleb Williams told the author of this book, Seth Wickersham, I wasn't ready to nuke the city. That's what the Elways did with the Baltimore Colts back in the 80s. Talked so bad about them, got rid of him, and the rest is history. Obviously, we know what John Elway turned into in Denver. But after a pre-draft visit to the Bears facility, Caleb Williams says in this book, he believed he could be a part of a process to turn the franchise around, saying, I can do it for this team. I'm going to the Bears. According to Seth Wickersham, was what he told his dad at that point.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man, considering he didn't have an option. That's the other part behind them conceding and saying, hey, yeah, this is what we're going to go do. Because, again, I look at Ryan Poles as being one of those guys, man, the GM of the Bears. He's going to do what he wants to and how he wants to do it also. Like the coaching changes that they had to make, yeah, I can probably understand that from a Caleb Williams perspective, right? We've seen that. We're watching Trevor Lawrence somewhat deal with that down in Jacksonville. That does play a part into the things that you're doing. But the other side that I've always been taught, man, the way we were brought up is sometimes you got to overcome coaching. Right. And more times than not, if you are a good player, you will outlast bad coaching, too. That's the other side of the coin that many people don't speak about. If a coach sucks, he's going to be out of that way more than the player is, too. So that's why I say, to me, I think there's more pressure on Caleb Williams moving forward, considering Chicago is a very, very proudful city. Their fan base is insane. And any moment that he has 3 interceptions in the game, with the weapons that he has and the coach that they went and got also from Detroit, and the staff.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that's up against him now to be successful.
So is Carl Williams in the right in any of this? I mean, looking at the USFL, taking a look at other options and ways to get around the NFL draft, did his camp let him down? Who is at fault here?
Who's at fault here? I think the perception of his father was. But I'll say this, though, more than anything, I can understand it. I could understand it. But this is a business, and I know he said that in there, too. He's a businessman. I know he's a guy that understands business, but sports is a little bit different than being a contractor in a sense. You got to, like, be day in and day out and convince people that you are as good as you are. It's the same way with him and how he built his business up. I think it was right for him to feel that way. But unless you are walking in as a Manning, unless you are walking in as an Elway, heck, unless you are Patrick Mahomes' son in a sense, right? Like, there's not many people that's going to move the needle like that. And it sucks for them, but here's the thing. There's a lot of players that would have taken that opportunity to go number one overall to a major market city like Chicago, too. So I'm trying to figure out why was it wrong in a sense. It's not like this is respectful. It's not like it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, he didn't walk into a bad situation.
No, he did not.
He had Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, another top 10 pick to pick a wide receiver, which they used on Rome Odunze. I mean, yeah, you had Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron, which wasn't ideal, but they're gone now.
Yeah, it's silly.
They're not guaranteed to be there for your entire rookie contract. Like, if you believe enough in your kid and in your quarterback and in your ability, you trust that guy to elevate everything else around them, and then all that history doesn't matter.
What's wild though is we've desensitized going top in the draft. I feel like more than anything, just because you've moved around the way you wanted to in the portal era, and everybody pretty much bends the knees for you any chance they could in college to get you to work with them. Again, I will say this about the NIL and portal era that we're in. That isn't real life to what the NFL is more times than not.
NFL will humble you really quickly.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly.
To where you can't go to the coach and say, I want an extra $500,000.
That is where I think this is relevant to any NFL fan base and every team and every market that has an NFL city. The difference in player empowerment from college football to the NFL, the gap there has never been wider.
Yeah.
In terms of your power as a college football player to write your own story and choose your own destiny, to the leverage that NFL teams have over you for the first even 5 years of your professional football career, but even beyond those 5 years, NFL teams have leverage. And if you're pushing back on that, take a look at the players that have tried to fight City Hall, like the Le'Veon Bells of the world.
Yes.
And when you try to sit out, what happens? Typically, your career goes downhill very, very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
And the second you are a distraction, a la Shador Sanders, that does not outweigh your play and your production and what you bring to the table on the field, the NFL humbles you very, very quickly. And that is one area where I think parents and agents, quote unquote, I'm using that facetiously because I'm talking about not real agents, I'm talking about dads and uncles who are masquerading as agents at the college level. There are a lot of folks that have a culture shock and a reality shift when they go from college football to the NFL.
Because here's the other part about it. Nobody's really secure unless there's production behind their jobs. Like these folks that are Caleb Williams or those like them want to complain to, they're in the same boat as them. Look, their job is to try to win games and preserve their jobs. Right. You know, like, and that's that's from the head coach to the OCs all the way down to the position coach to the 53rd man on the team. And that's the difference. Like college, they need you. The NFL, they'll find another one of you. And then you know what? They'll hide you until they get a better version of yourself, too. And I thought that was fascinating to take that approach because my thing is this, and I saw somebody in the chat bring it up, like, what I'm saying is the name. I do think there's only a couple positions that can do this, maybe one. That's only the quarterback position. In my opinion, to where you can
hold a team hostage and try to get around it.
To try to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part to me as we bring up like the Mannings and the Elways it's only one position we've seen try to handcuff the NFL, and it's the quarterbacks. And they also came with history behind them more than anything too. Not just because, you know, their skill set, but like the quarterback position will hold you hostage if you're good enough and if you have enough flex.
I think it's interesting because it's certainly a very different way moving forward than the guy you just drafted. Yeah. number 1 overall here in Nashville. You have the pretty much opposite personality to what Caleb Williams is. This part of it is interesting, Ramon, and I think, again, is relevant to any player and any rookie in the NFL. So the book also sheds light on Caleb Williams' tumultuous rookie season in which both Matty Eberflus and Shane Waldron were fired and the Bears lost 10 straight games. At times, Caleb Williams said he would watch film alone with no instruction or guidance from the coaches. Quote, "No one tells me what to watch," Caleb Williams told his dad. "I just turn it on." What do you make of that?
I can't believe that, to be quite
Really?
honest with you. No, I can't believe the fact that he was complaining about it. You know how you learn how to watch tape? Is what your position coach puts on for you first.
What he tells you to
What
watch
he tells
by
you to
yourself?
put on to watch.
Yeah.
So, like, usually you start the week off by watching the entire games, and then you get into situational football, and then you get into, like, the third down reels, and then you get into, hey, what was their best game? Like, everybody, like, I've never known anybody to sit down, to be sat down and have to be taught how to watch tape. My question for Caleb Williams is, what did you do in college? Did you only watch it because the coach summoned you to the office to come watch tape? Like, here's what I do know this. I know in Pittsburgh, the defense will meet with Coach Tomlin early in the morning for the guys that want to. Not the entire defense, but it's also based upon them asking him to and the fact that he's already in there breaking down tape, too. Those dudes will meet at like 5:30 in the morning to go over the reel and tape that they're going before they go out to practice. He can ask for those types of things. That is a grown man's league. That's the other side of it, too, that I don't think a lot of people understand. The young players don't understand is the coach will allow you to be an adult. Adults, they ask questions. Adults will seek help. Adults will take onus of their responsibilities. And it seems to me that Caleb Williams has been grabbed by the hand and told what to do. No, that's why you hear guys saying he's first one in, last one out. It's because those dudes choose to do those types of things. And then you watch tape at home. We saw the quarterback documentary, right? We saw Kirk Cousins and Patrick Mahomes, like, adamantly watching tape at home.
Yep.
Those are the things that you do.
Yep.
I was never taught, hey, this is what you do. I had to figure out, watch the entire game.
Sure.
Watch the third down, watch first half, watch second half, and then watch the third downs. It is a process, Will, that you have to take over more than somebody telling you to because, again, they're not going to hold your hand. They only have so many hours in a day anyway, and I just thought that was childish, to be quite honest with you, for him to say that.
Kenny the mailman, first up of the phone lines this morning, 615-737-1045. What's up, Kenny?
Good morning, good friends. This is a great topic, and you know the players have no say-so or power in this at all, but a lot of the problem is not the city, the coaching staff. About a third of the owners, they keep it quiet. They're about as kooky as all get out, and you don't really realize it. I was listening to an interview with Lamar Arrington, and he said after 4 or 5 years, it was a chore just to step on the field because he knew he worked for Dan Snyder. It was always chaos. He would show up and give a team a quote-unquote pep talk, and he'd alienate about half the team. Front office revolving doors. He said the Washington doctors, it got so bad he would just go to his doctor because one doctor was examining the wrong knee and declared it clean. And he said he had prayed to either go to Pittsburgh or San Francisco where it was stable and you knew you could trust the owners. You look like the Chicago owners, the Arizona owners, Indianapolis. There are some owners that are absolutely kooky, but they're never called into question. It's always the players or the coaches. A lot of these people have to work for nutty owners. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, part of it.
That. Every organization has its blemishes. Even Pittsburgh. Like, we saw George Pickens last week say that Pittsburgh don't spend money. You know, like, it happens. I do think it's a billionaire's boys club. And, look, you better get in where you fit. The doctor stuff, he said, LeVar Arrington, a lot of players have their own doctors. Again, you are an adult. If something's not right, go find help for it.
Everybody's got a process. That's the thing about Caleb Williams is how bad is your process to get ready to play the quarterback position that you need someone to hold your hand through it.
Yeah, man.
Like, by the time you get to the NFL, there should be a weekly checklist that you feel like you've got to check off in order to do your job in practice weeks, in practice months. It's a troubling story if I'm a Bears fan. It's a bit of a red flag, as talented as he still is.
No doubt.
Coming up, an athlete at the top of their game was dominant over the weekend. Scotty Scheffler gets it done at the PGA Championship. We'll dive into that next.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn, man. I'm getting ready to talk to you guys and ladies and families out there, and you know who you are. You're like me in a lot of ways when it comes to your grass, man. You obsessively care about it. Your spouse and your friends, they tell you talk about your grass more than you talk about your kids almost, man. That's because you want to be the envy of your neighborhood. Well, I got a company that can help you be the envy of your neighborhood. Secure Lawn, man. They want to create lifelong customers by providing a prime service. And you're probably wondering, what did it mean? It means having their team members properly trained to prepare a prime service to you, man. Well, so you can get those weeds out of the way, so you can have your grass thick, so you can have it healthy, and not just when it's cool outside, but also when it's hot in July. That's the way they have for me. Secure Lawn, they aren't interested in a bunch of sales. No, absolutely not. Their business models include never giving their customers a reason to leave at all, man. They've been here for over 20 years. They're family owned and operated and local, and of course, they have a quick, punctual time response to get back to you. So whether you have ryegrass, fescue, Bermuda, doesn't matter. Or whether you have your residential, commercial, even athletic fields, well, go ahead and call the company I trust at 615-893-8455 to go to securelawn.com.
Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooters Coffee, kicking off your Monday morning here on 104.5 The Zone and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. Scotty Scheffler joined elite company yesterday with a win at the PGA Championship in Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, his third major and the first time, Ramon Foster, that he has won a major outside of Augusta National. Here is the rarefied air that Scotty Scheffler just joined yesterday. 15th PGA Tour victory for the 28-year-old. Since World War II, only two other golfers have won 15 times on the PGA Tour and captured three majors before the age of 29. Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Yeah. Now joined by Scotty Scheffler. To me, Ramon, it is hard to find a more likable athlete at the top of their game in sports than this guy right now, who is the face of the sport right now, no doubt about it.
No doubt, man. I saw a little bit of it this weekend. I actually sat down and watched a good bit of it, too.
Nice.
Just to watch what he does. Rory fell off, of course, not in a bad way, but...
Didn't have a good weekend.
He did not have a good weekend. What I did notice was this, the way, Scotty came back on Saturday. He just pretty much put the pedal to the metal, man, and just walked everybody down and did not relinquish it at all. He was hitting shots I don't think many people thought he should have, but in totality, when you're good and you have that intimidation factor over those guys in such a mental sport, most sports are mental anyway, but when you have a guy that you feel like talent is far and above everybody else's, from not to compare him to Tiger, right? Because his most recent one has done this type of stuff to where he just takes over the field. He seems to have a mental grip over everybody right now, Will.
He's inevitable. I mean, totally inevitable. John Rahm had kind of walked him down a little bit, was getting closer, even had a share of the lead at one point on Sunday. And then when John Rahm walked off the 16th green with a bogey and Scotty had gone 2 under on 14 and 15, it was over.
Yeah.
It was totally over. And then John Rahm hits it in the water on 17. And, like, you've got to be so good to beat Scotty Scheffler right now. He is entering an era where he is as dominant of an individual athlete as we have in sports right now. And to me, in a world where it is really easy to find something wrong with athletes, for all the people who love LeBron James, there are a lot of people who go out of their way to hate LeBron James and the ways that he operates, the ways that he does things. For as classy and as talented and as otherworldly as Steph Curry is at times, there are people that feel like he's ruined basketball and people that feel like that he is the wave of an area of the sport that they don't enjoy. Scotty Scheffler, to me, feels like one of the only non-controversial athletes that we have at the top level of sports right now. And I saw somebody, Ramon, compare him to Tim Duncan over the weekend. Say he's kind of like Tim Duncan. He's boring. He's nice. He's not an overly, offensive character in any way. Nothing he does really, stands out to you. But he'll just dominate you. And you'll look up at the end of his career, and he is one of the all-time best to ever do it.
Man, that's one heck of a comparison right there. I always liked Tim Duncan growing up, but here's the other part, though, too. I saw Rahm hit that shot straight into the drink for them. Well, it bounced into it on 17th, but you hear what he also said, too, after it? He was just like, even if you don't want to look at the leaderboards, the crowd lets you know that Scotty's killing it, man. And that part right there, to me, says he's got him, Will, in the competitive spirit, and they know he's got the crowds behind him, too. So to your point about the crowd getting behind Scotty, like people want to see Scotty Scheffler win. Golf needs this. I think we spoke about it a little bit last year.
Absolutely.
Or the whole live side of things, right? This is what golf needed, another guy. So the question I have, because of the ad that Nike dropped and steal pretty much what they was, and steal the best player in the world, was there doubts on Scotty, though, more than anything?
At the beginning of the season, he wasn't playing well enough.
He wasn't playing well.
Because he hurt his hand making sushi around Christmas.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
right.
He had shards of glass in his hand that he had to get surgically removed and did not have a good start to the season, and now is kind of back. And so I do think there were some doubts. It also is funny, though, Nike put out, the verdict is in. Best player in the world, guilty. because 1 year ago is when he got arrested at the PGA Championship at Valhalla.
Yeah, that's when I actually found out about Scotty. Remember,
Because you were like, well, maybe he's just this
maybe
kind of
he shouldn't
guy.
break
And
the
then
law. Yeah,
more facts came out, and you were like, nope, never mind.
Yeah. Scotty,
he is still that kind of guy.
It was in Kentucky of all places too. What was it, Valhalla? If I'm not mistaken.
Louisville.
Like,
Yep.
Can you imagine how they feel right now? The security watching him be the #1 player in the world, and here they are, the people that put a blemish up on him. I wanted to get a record as it expunged. These are the types of things I think about.
It was totally,
expunged.
totally
Okay,
taken.
all right, for sure.
But
Well,
he was not playing as well to start the season as he was last year, and he just said when he won in Houston a few weeks ago, he said, "I feel like I'm back." Said, I think that I've kind of caught up to where I was before the injury, and feel like I am at where I'm supposed to be. And clearly, he's shown us. I mean, he's won now a couple of times in the month of May, and just won his third major. So, Scotty Scheffler halfway to the career Grand Slam. He could still technically get it this year because the only two he doesn't have now are the U.S. Open and the Open.
Okay. It's interesting, too. I'm looking at a quote from the '06 PGA Championship winner, Luke Donald. And I said we didn't want to compare him to Tiger, but this is what Luke Donald said he just sort of plays his game, didn't make too many mistakes, and wore you down. That's the part right there I think that's getting a lot of the other golfers. And said, I certainly experienced that in '06. He said, I think Scotty is a similar kind of player when he gets in the league. Speaking of like Tiger Woods is what he said, what Tiger did in '06.
It is the closest to Tiger's elite run as we've maybe ever seen since Tiger. Jordan Spieth had a really good run there.
Okay.
Rory had a very good run when he first kind of broke onto the scene. What Scotty Scheffler is doing is putting him in Tiger Woods conversations. I think it's great for golf. I think the television ratings are going to come back, and it's going to be very, very, very well consumed and watched.
Watched a little bit. Like I said, what's cool though is we're in this sports world of golf now where we're able to compare him to somebody else closer.
Yep.
It's not like you got to go all the way back and say he's like this guy from the '70s.
You're not going back to Jack.
No, you're not going back to
70s
Jack.
and 80s, right?
And I think that's cool because a lot of these guys grew up on Tiger or at least watched it with their
100%.
eyes, right?
Yep. No doubt. 615-737-1045 is our number. A quarterback got paid over the weekend. What does it mean for his team, the rest of the NFL? We'll dive into that coming up next.
It's Ramon for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, man, nobody wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or even electrical emergency. Most of the time, you don't even know what it's going to cost or if it'll get fixed right or if someone's just trying to sell you something you don't need because they know you're in a crisis. No, absolutely not. When Hiller calls you, their experts are going to solve your problems quickly, man. And the better part about it is the price that you're told is the price you'll actually pay. There are no hidden fees or surprises when you get your bill. Hiller's been in business for over 35 years and are family owned and operated, man. They're techs, when they come to your house, they're professional, experienced, and trustworthy. And they all are background checked and drug screened, too. When they're on the way, you'll receive a photo of the tech and a link to the track of the truck to track them in real time. No more wasting time waiting around at all. This is a company I use and also trust, man. So to learn more about them or to book with Hiller, simply visit happyhiller.com.
It is 7 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. Friday, the San Francisco 49ers and quarterback Brock Purdy agreed on a massive 5-year, $265 million extension. From Mr. Irrelevant to one of the league's highest-paid players, Purdy's deal includes $181 million in guarantees, and he'll have an average of $53 million per year. The conference finals are set. In the NBA, a 119-81 rout of the Boston Celtics. The New York Knicks will face the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 is Wednesday in New York. The Oklahoma City Thunder cruised past the Denver Nuggets in Game 7. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 35 points. The Thunder will face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals with Game 1 tomorrow night in OKC. In the NHL, the Dallas Stars advanced to the Western Conference Finals to face the Edmonton Oilers after a 2-1 overtime win over the Winnipeg Jets in Game 6. Game 1 is in Dallas on Wednesday. And the Florida Panthers are heading to the Eastern Conference Final to face the Carolina Hurricanes after a 6-1 rout of the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 7. Game 1 is tomorrow night in Raleigh. And Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship with a 5-stroke win at Quail Hollow to seal his third major title and a tournament record $3.42 million first-place prize. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning, hour number 2, Ramon and Will is brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Locally owned near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Start your week off with a cinnamon roll, perhaps a breakfast burrito, maybe a protein smoothie, fruit flavors that you need, or you could go the sleigh way. Just get you some hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate.
Warm up your guts a little bit to start the week. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, waking up with you. 615-737-1045 is our number. You ever heard that saying? Like, kind of warms up your insides a little bit.
Warms up, absolutely.
Warm up your guts.
Most times when I hear that, though, Will, it's because of some libation, okay?
Oh, okay.
More than
Maybe
just
some brown
coffee.
water,
Brown water, or tequila, whatever you choose to do, Will. But, yes, I've heard that time and time again, though.
Friday afternoon, the San Francisco 49ers paid their quarterback, Brock Purdy, getting a 5-year, $265 million deal. $181 million in overall guaranteed money. He earned $2.6 million over his first 3 NFL seasons, Ramon Foster, making him the NFL's 76th highest paid quarterback over that span. His new contract has an average salary of $53 million, meaning that he will get paid more per week with his new deal of $2.9 million than he did over the first 3 years of his career combined.
What a time to be alive for Brock Purdy.
Not bad
man.
at all. Was this the right time to pay Brock Purdy if you're San Francisco?
Yeah, you had to. Right before the bill went up again, you had to. I think it's perfect for them, especially with where they are, too. With the huge exodus that they had defensively, man. Lost Deebo Samuel this year also. You look at his situation and say now they're putting it in his plate, man. Putting everything on his plate as far as trying to elevate that team more than anything. Well, I think it shows that over the longevity of his career, especially through this contract, he's going to be the one they depend on the most, man. And so I think it's right to pay him. I think it's right to also settle that team with what their direction is, too, because, again, the side that they could play is by saying this is a Shanahan offense. Any quarterback like you will be successful in this. But I think it was important for them to go ahead and pay a guy like him who had given them the most success they've had recently as it pertains to the quarterback position. And not just that, like you said, this guy's Mr. Irrelevant. More than anything, you've made hundreds of millions of dollars off him anyway at such a cheap labor spot that he was drafted at.
So it's challenging because the 49ers did right by Purdy. They didn't necessarily do right by themselves because they, again, we talk about how the NFL has leverage and college players quickly learn you don't have the power that you do as college players or the flexibility or mobility. Why wouldn't San Francisco just put the franchise tag on him after his rookie deal ends this upcoming season? Because the franchise tag is still going to be cheaper than what you are paying out with a long-term deal. But there are a lot of critics of this, Ramon, making that point. Why was this the right move versus the franchise tag route?
Why was this the right move? It's because there's no certainty on where you're going to be picking in the draft the next year, too. You got to think they struck gold, literally the 49ers in a gold rush as far as the quarterback position goes. You got to think this is a guy to beat out Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and others as it pertains to him keeping that job right where it is right now with him as behind center. I think it's the right move, Will, just based upon the fact of this. I think they're a good enough team to where they're not going to be picking in the top 10. Right? If they did franchise tag him, I look at this spot as the same way Green Bay was with Aaron Rodgers, and not a 1-to-1. But what I'm saying is this: if they franchise tagged him and made him play this out, they know next year's salary is going to be a whole lot more. Number one, but two, he's probably going to play lights out to hurt them as far as quit drafting the quarterback the very next year. We got to look at this the same way I view Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh is in a position to where they're not going to pick in the top 10. So why are you trying not to go find your guy for the future in a sense, right? Like, to get the franchise guy most people believe in is in the top 10. I don't think San Francisco is going to be drafting that, so why roll the dice? Go ahead and go with your man if you know he fits your system, and I think that's the biggest part of it all for Shanahan. He fits his system.
Right. I think where people have missteps in talking about situations like this are when you think about how the salary cap is enforced. So just because Brock Purdy is getting $53 million of average annual salary, again, which is like the biggest number that these agents can tell us, it's typically below that. With incentives and with all these things that could hit, it ends up being $53 million. Well, giving him the franchise tag, all that money then goes against the cap. And that's where I think teams can save money in terms of roster management by just going ahead and getting the deal done now. So you can put a lot of that money on the back end of this deal. You put void years on the back end of the deal because, let's face it, I think you are under the understanding that Brock Purdy is going to be around for another contract. This is not the only contract he will ever get from you. So then you put void years on the back of it. Well, now you can really play some cap gymnastics if you're willing to pay out a lot of money up front as signing bonuses. And San Francisco is a team that has money to work with, that has cash on hand to work with. They can afford to do that and avoid $41 million against the cap. And then the second franchise tag, if they decided to just tag him 2 years in a row, would be about $51 million all against the salary cap. Just because he's getting more than that on average does not mean that that's the number against the cap. I mean, you're probably looking at a situation where Brock Purdy could cost you $15 to $20 million against the cap, even though he is making, in terms of overall cash in that year, more like 45 to 50.
No doubt about it. And here's the other part of it, too. They had to find a stabilizing force with him at that quarterback position to where they're probably in the next year or two going to start purging some of those old guys that they have, too. I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. What are they going to eventually end up doing with him, or will they make him the star? Juwan Jennings situation.
They already did it with Debo Samuel.
Yeah, Debo Samuel. And the other guys they chose not to sign back on defense, too. Like, they've done this. And not just
gone.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, Trent Williams is...
He's getting up there.
He's getting up there. That's all you'll say about his situation. Right. And Kittle, for that factor. So, more than anything, like, I think they're choosing their franchise. I think it's better with this way, as they chose their franchise to be more stable by locking him down and saying that no matter what is at his age with the system that Shanahan's running, we're going to be somewhat successful. So then it starts like John Lynch. Do your job. Find the guys that help you win. And I think that's the reason they oversold so much in the draft on the defensive side of things.
I also do think that many times these deals end up aging pretty well. Patrick Mahomes got paid the way he did. Look at that contract now. In hindsight, it's one of the best values of a contract of any professional athlete right now in sports.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Especially with the opportunity the NFL has to opt out in part of its media rights deal in 2029. Like, the salary cap's going up quite a bit every year. It is in your best interest as a team to go ahead and strike while the iron's hot in situations like this, especially when you look at the cap gymnastics and the ability to take away a lot of the burden on the salary cap by just going ahead and getting this done. I also think that Brock Purdy is still underappreciated for how good he's been. And I know that the weapons around him are pretty dang good. That's also just football. Like, what we use the fact that Brock Purdy has good players to play with as a reason to diminish his overall quality and ability. But that's just being in a team sport. Since he took over as the starter for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo in Week 13 of 2022, the Niners are 27-15 in games he started. In that time, he has the fourth best QBR in the NFL at 70.2. He's third in passing yards with 9,452. He's first in yards per attempt at 8.9 and seventh in touchdown passes with 64. Brock Purdy is absolutely good enough to win a Super Bowl with.
Yeah, 100%.
No question. No question.
Now, you're going to have to surround them, but that's almost anybody. That's what San
sports.
Francisco's done in general.
I mean, Kansas City has learned that, even with Patrick Mahomes, like the best, maybe overall physically gifted player to ever do this, still lost the Super Bowl this past year because nobody could block for him against the Philadelphia defensive line. And Philly deserves a lot of credit for that, don't get me wrong, but there is no one in this league and in this football world that can just put the entire team on their back in NFL football with no help.
No doubt about it. Because let's go north to Chicago. Let's speak about Caleb Williams, right? They did everything they could to facilitate talent around him as far as an offensive line. You got to think they got Keenan Allen last year. They got Rome Odunze in the draft, and you still were below 500. Like, you say what you want to about the quarterback, right, that Brock Purdy was coming out of the draft. He can sling it. And the other part that I got to give a little bit of credit to Caleb Williams, his camp with, as they tried to botch the draft last year, is this. The right system can also make you successful. And that's why I think, or if you Shanahan and you the head coach, and you can at least, because most head coaches say they're not in on the negotiating, but if you can say to your front office, look, this is the guy that I need for my system for us to be successful, then you run with it. The same way Cliff Kingsbury is in Washington. Like, these things have to correlate, so why mess up a good thing and say, hey, or listen to the talking heads and be like, this is a bad deal for the 49ers. No, it's not. No, it's not. He's proved and he's earned this point, too. We're talking about a Mr. Irrelevant. Hell, you might as well make him undrafted at this point. Only thing that he was picked. He had a parade for being the last guy selected in the draft. And for the people that dislike this, like, you're anti-sports almost in a sense, because we're watching a guy, in my opinion, we talked about this a little bit on Friday, they got a way better story than Rudy and Notre Dame at this point. Like, this, to me, is the best version of a Rudy than you can ever ask for in the sports world.
Except Brock Purdy didn't line up offsides.
Notre Dame fans, don't come at us.
That's right. Yeah. Rudy, overrated story.
We talked about it a little bit on Friday, just so you know. Yeah, I know. We were there. We were on the same page on that.
Oh, yeah, I saw Stoney Keeley was talking about how a lot of movies that people love are just very overrated.
He did. Keisha texted me about when he dogged that Hocus Pocus like that. She wasn't a fan. Zach's wife wasn't a fan either. Like, and I don't think he liked Christmas Story either. But hey, he didn't mention it on air. But yeah, this Brock Purdy to me is one of the best stories you can have. That if you keep your head down and work, this is the payoff.
Sure, it's the American dream.
It's the American dream.
Sure is the American NFL dream.
He living it right now, because I guarantee you, he moving out of that apartment in San Francisco now.
Yeah, go get me a house and some acres.
Give some acres.
615-737-1045 is our number. A big week in the NFL with owners' meetings going on in Minneapolis. A couple of rule changes that are under the microscope, including one that is going to get a lot of traction that I am very against. And I'll explain why to you coming up next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. You've probably been looking for cars, and you see the words buy here, pay here. Maybe that makes you want to go somewhere else. And most of those dealers, they come with certain reputations, right? Well, I'm here to tell you there's one place you can go, a place that I certainly trust. That's my friends over at Nolensville Road Auto Mart. They are different for a few simple reasons. They've been doing business in Nashville, first of all, for 61 years. And they're Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under 12 grand. So if you're new to town, you need a place to trust that knows the market. they have got you. Maybe you're just looking for that first car for the new driver in your family, the 16-year-old. You don't want to break the bank. Well, they can do that as well. And don't just take my word for it. Check out their Google reviews. They are excellent. With one location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane, Nolensville Road Auto Mart will get you in and out in an hour or less. And the best part, they're the oldest buy here, pay here in Nashville. They work with your own financing if you got it. 615-242-1279. Flexibility, transparency, and honesty. That's why I recommend Nolensville Road Auto Mart. Give them a call at 615-242-1279. Hey, it's Will Bolton. Are you looking to check some items off your home to-do list this summer? Maybe you're just looking to fresh up your home's look. You're hosting friends and family in the coming months. You're like me. You're thinking, hey, it's nice outside. Let's go enjoy our outside areas, maybe in the living room. And you're thinking, all right, this needs a little bit of an upgrade. Well, 24/7, 365, the Lee Company handyman professionals have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck to drywall repairs, landscape lighting, painting, and more, Lee Company is all you need. I love having Lee Company out because you just hand them the to-do list. They just get it done. You're going to make sure that you like the way that things are setting up around you, the way things look, the way things are working, the way they're supposed to. Just visit Lee Company online at leecompany.com to schedule your appointment today. That's leecompany.com or call them at 615-567-1000. Check them out online, leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Ramon Will at 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooter's Coffee, ready to go on this Monday morning. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Alongside Vol Network analyst and 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. You can hop in the comment section. Always a conversation to be had on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. So in Minneapolis this week, Ramon, NFL owners will have a chance to make the biggest change to the NFL postseason seating in decades. Interesting stuff. The Lions' proposal would reconfigure the system listed as bylaw proposal number 4 on the docket, which is Detroit's proposal for the 4 division champions and 3 wild cards in each conference to make the playoffs and then be seeded strictly by record, rather than assigning the top seeds to the division winners. That is how it has been done since the merger, with the wild cards to follow. If teams have the same record, being a division champion would be the first tiebreaker, regardless of head-to-head record. Do you like this?
That's a tough one, Will. Not necessarily. I don't. And you got to think that's the era that I played in, too, where the division winners would host. But I can understand the gripe behind it more than anything because I say this in a sense, but there were years where teams that had below 500 records would host home games. And I somewhat get that. Don't celebrate bad, basically, is what Detroit is asking for more than anything. I'm not sure if they got hosed out of Minnesota versus them or Green Bay this last year. I can't remember what their division record was, but I can understand it. But no, if I win my division, there's an expectation, Will, that I get to host a home playoff game. It's not my fault that, look, we're a little bit less than and you play in a tougher division. I don't want it to be that way. So I'm going to push back a little bit on that one.
So the Lions were 15-2. They ended up obviously being the top seed in the NFC. They hosted those games and ended up being the team that got the best draw. The Vikings, on the other hand, did not. Vikings were bounced. Vikings were not at home. They were the 5 seed despite going 14-3. Detroit, if they had lost that last game of the season to Minnesota, would have been in that boat where they would have been traveling and being the number 5 seed. So Detroit's proposal in March called for the teams to be reseeded after the first round as well. Roger Goodell conducted an unofficial vote on the idea in March, but only a handful of teams were ready to approve the proposal. However, there was also logic to the notion teams were considering, prompting Goodell to table an official vote until May. So they were thinking more about it. I don't like it at all.
Oh.
I'll be honest with you. Because NFL schedules are not completely balanced. 2 parts of this that I think are relevant. If you are a division winner from the year before, you're playing a first-place schedule.
Yes, sir.
You're playing 3 other teams that won their divisions the year prior. So odds are, if you are in position to win the division again, you are at least playing a second-place schedule and most likely a first-place schedule. You should be rewarded with a home playoff game for surviving against other division winners and other teams that finished second. Here's the other part of this. And I'm going to take this to the AFC South for a moment, respectfully. Think about the AFC West this year.
Yeah.
They're playing the AFC South, playing the NFC South. They are going to have pretty good records over there, the AFC West, considering the division that they are all playing against. All of you benefit from that. The NFC North last season, they all benefit. Who did they play last year? The South.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, your records are all going to be better because you're all playing the same division on the other side of things. You're all playing the same teams. So, in some years, the AFC West is going to have the hardest schedule in the NFL. So should they be penalized just because, let's say, the North gets to play the bad teams in the South?
Yeah.
No. Winning your division should count for something in the National Football League. And unless you could totally guarantee a balanced schedule from all 32 teams, I would be on board with this, but I can't.
No. I agree. I'm with you there, too. And then the second part of that you said where they tabled was the reseeding after the first round. I don't agree with either because I think that really puts the consumers, the fans, in a bad situation, too. If you've hosted and you've won, but you're also lower seeded, let's say it's, what was it last year? Tampa versus Washington, in a sense. Like, if Tampa had won and they moved on, why would they have to go to Washington in that case right there? No, they did what they were supposed to do in those situations. And for the people that have to book flights, book hotels, and travel to other destinations when their home team who was hosting won, I think that sucks for the fans.
Right.
This is, to me, and I can understand the competitive spirit of it, or we'll just keep reseeding. No, that's not how this works in a sense, more than anything, because you don't see it in March Madness be that way. So why are they trying to do it now as it pertains to the NFL? I think it honestly confuses the game a little bit more than it should as far as what you do in the postseason. Because, again, my biggest point of it is this, is if a 6 seed walks all the way to the Super Bowl, or the 7 seed for that matter, like that's the story that you want. Not necessarily that they had to continue to fight and go play against the best every single time. Like, this is it's too much, I feel like, for the game. For a team, to your point, Will, coming out of division, they got 3 in last year, and so did the AFC West. Like, I think the playoff structure right now settles itself.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Who's asking for this? Like, it's not even like Detroit. It's not even like Detroit was penalized last year for anything.
Well, they are in a division that is good enough to where one misstep and a 14-win Lions could easily be going on the road to, Tampa,
Minnesota,
or Seattle.
I know. But Minnesota did last year,
That was the whole point. They lost in the first round.
But the issue is prepare your team is the way I look at that, right? Like, I don't view that as it's just because they're a bad record. Like, the Rams won their division. They deserve to host a football game.
Right.
They got distracted is the way I look at that for Minnesota. And if they're trying to do a favor for them, they suck for that.
So there's one reason why I think this could happen, and I think it has less to do about the postseason and more to do with weeks 17 and 18. So Albert Breer wrote at SI.com, the NFL has become increasingly concerned about teams resting players in weeks 17 and 18 in preparation for the playoffs, with seeding locked up or at least narrowed down. And we saw the exact example of this with the Houston Texans last year, week 18. So the NFL analytics team showed owners a slide at the March meetings that explained how open seating would make late games more relevant. Here's what they told NFL owners. In the current system, Houston went into week 18 locked into the 4th seed. In this new system, they could have been seed 4, 5, 6, or 7 at that point going into week 18 here in Nashville against the Titans. The Rams went into week 18 knowing they'd be the 3 or 4 seed. In the adjusted system, they could have been 4, 5, 6, or 7. The Eagles went into week 18 set as the number 2 seed, could not be moved. In the adjusted system, they could have fallen to number 3 with a loss. All 3 of those teams rested starters in week 18 last year and wound up winning in the first round of the playoffs, to some degree rewarding them for resting players.
Well, I would feel bad, Will, if we didn't see every other division take steps up. Like, I don't remember the NFC North being as good as where I'm at for this long. For them to be having this type of complaint is my problem with it.
Yeah, right? We've been in the AFC North. We've been dealing with this.
Well, we've dealt with this before.
On the other side.
I mean, let's think about this, too. Let's go back about 10 years. The AFC South was in that conversation in a sense, right? Well, you're battling between Indy, Titans, and Houston, right? Jags had their run. Like, every division has its run more than anything. They're trying to do everything but put the onus on the management is the way I look at this. Like, if you want your division to be more competitive, then just ask the teams in your division to draft better, coach better, find the right place, find the right people for their success more than anything. I'm not of the mindset of ruining somebody else's party just because the other 3 teams in your division are down. It's still an issue where you have to go take care of business, because I'm looking at a Houston Texans team that beat the Buffalo Bills last year. Like, those teams are still good. They may have went 10-7 as it pertains to their record, but you got to look at them. They still won in the first round of the playoffs, too. Now, albeit you rest players, whatever. But That's a part of the management of your division. Everybody has to go through this. That's one thing I will say. If we're not fairly setting up opponents, what I have noticed is this. Certain divisions get good, and you just got to deal with them year after year. It's the AFC West right now, right? That's really got to choke on. Before then, it was the NFC West when it was the Rams and when you had Seattle be that good. It happens.
It does happen, and it's all cyclical, and it's not enough to totally change this whole system. And I think this idea the NFL has that resting starters in Week 18 sets you up to win in the first round of the playoffs. College football would argue against rest really helping you. I mean, honestly, there's not enough evidence for us to say that resting starters automatically results in wins, and that's a one-to-one correlation. Like, maybe teams that have the luxury to rest starters are just really good at football.
It's just really good.
Like if you're good enough to rest your starters in Week 18, then you're probably just good.
Yeah.
Probably just means you got a really good quarterback. Probably just means that you don't need to put C.J. Stroud or Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts out there. It doesn't just mean because you rested them that you're really all that great. But if there's one thing the NFL really, really values, it's the ability to have drama play out in front of our very eyes on television from the beginning to the end of the season. And that is one area that I do think gives this a little bit of traction. It's less about the fairness of where teams go in the postseason. It's more about making week 17 and 18 more valuable, which in turn means that networks got to pay more for it.
I understand that. But looking at even Philly's latter part of their record, though, like Washington and them were a really good matchup. They end up losing, in week 16 to the Commanders. But they also still had two division games against the Cowboys. They absolutely smacked them. And then they end up beating also the New York Giants. So, like, say what you want to about the wrestling side of it. Will, to your point, maybe Philly's just that good as it pertains to their backups, the way they're coached.
Right.
And, I mean, it sucks that the Giants were that bad, but that's not their fault. Like you said, they're not setting their opponents. The league is, for the most part, other than a divisional game.
I think Roger Goodell and the NFL are looking at what people who don't watch the NBA don't like about the NBA and are actively trying to avoid that. And it's the two words that have become very popular in today's sports culture: load management.
Load management. But
the NFL is scared of load management and sending the message to their fans that guys are lazy and not going to play. Yeah. And I don't think any of that is true, by the way. I don't think NFL players are lazy. I don't think load management's an issue. I think none of this should play into what they are trying to do and reseed the playoffs and change the way that this works. But I think the NFL and people in New York are afraid of being marketed and branded the same way that the NBA is.
I'll tell you, this is also what it's setting up to do, because there's been a conversation that's been lightly happening, and it hadn't been publicly addressed by the league just yet. If we're talking about load management or resting players, whatever the case may be, well, you got an odd number of games right now.
And they're going to add another one.
With one bye. Yeah. It sounds to me 18-2 is what it's going to be set up as.
Yep. 18 regular season and 2 bye weeks and 2 preseason. 2
preseasons and 2 bye weeks is the way I see this.
And we're probably looking at a work stoppage in order to get that over the hump, too, because players are going to have to agree to get paid.
They do.
And to get a second bye week as a part of it.
I don't think they're going to have to this time around.
I hope not.
From my understanding, the NFLPA hired a guy who was a contract negotiator more than a litigator, the way D. Smith was. And you know what his mindset is? The league is flowing, and it's a lot of cash coming in behind it. So they went out and got a guy that is a Fortune 500 lawyer more than anything else to work on the business of it. And the 18-2 was a part of it because the league and the NFLPA are in such good standings, and there's so much money coming in that they know they're going to have to come up off more money, and they're okay with that. And the other part of it, though, is this. I've been saying it for the last few years, but the league, the minimum that they're pushing for across the NFL is $1 million. Every rookie is $1 million a year.
Yep.
So when they drop that number on them minimum, that's going to make players say, yeah, we're okay with 18-2.
So, for the record, with the load management thing, I don't have an issue with it.
I don't either.
I don't have an issue with it in the NBA. I personally don't think that the two are even close to being the same thing. Talking about 82 games and resting sometimes, and then 17 games and you rest starters for the end of the game. That is not an issue to me. But I think the NFL knows that perception is out there about the NBA.
Yeah.
I think they want to avoid that. And I think you are right that, hopefully they go into the upcoming negotiations about an 18th game and don't let that be a sticking point to preclude them from flowing into the next season and into a new schedule. But to me, like, it's one of those perception is reality kind of things.
Yeah.
To where these leagues know what their harshest critics are saying about what's going on, and they want to avoid the 10% of that crazy narrative if they can. If that does it make sense what I'm saying?
I know what you mean, but
I'm not the one saying like, oh, these lazy play. No, I don't care. But I do think there's that idea out there that some people really do care about that.
But what I will say in games where we've rested starters, we've been in that spot before. We've got the division, and look, we know we got a first-round bye. Going into that last week, though, I will say this. Depending upon who you play is where the importance of I hate that they're resting players are. Because here's the thing about football is my personal opinion on this one. You can't fake it. Right? You can't just go through the motions with it. So even your backups have to go 100% on every single player, else you're going to get hurt.
Going at half speed will get you hurt.
Yeah, going at half speed will get you hurt to that point as far as the backups playing versus another league, like if hockey did it or basketball did it or
nobody's going to half speed in hockey
or baseball. So. Like I was looking at the Yankees
jogging through first base.
Like I'm not sure what's going on with Jazz Chisholm right now, but he wasn't playing last night in the Yankees Mets matchup. By the way, Yankees smacked them last night too and took the division. Sorry, Sally, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it is a different mindset. I feel like when you put the backup guard in versus you putting in or you resting your superstars in other sports.
The NFL is really good at making really good television from the beginning to the end of the season. And that is something that they really value. And I think this will eventually happen. It might not be this time around. All it's going to take is for one of these other teams to go 14-3 and go on the road and lose again for owners to get their attention to say, all right, maybe this does matter to make things more valuable from weeks 1 through 18. Because, again, if it is more dollars in their pocket, because that's what speaks to NFL owners.
Yeah.
If it's more money for them where, hey, this TV rights deal is a little more lucrative because games are more interested in week 17 and 18, it'll happen eventually.
Well, why did Philly get so many prime times? Right?
Yeah.
Because they want good on TV and competitive games on TV too.
Well, why did they put the Cowboys on so many primetime games?
Because that's a national brand.
That's the brand.
That's a worldwide brand.
I've conceded
not competitive though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Brand.
I mean, they are competitive.
They got names.
They're not 4-13.
The narrative last week of teams playing their way into primetime fell out of the hole there with the Cowboys because
drafting
they don't ever
their
play.
way into primetime.
Drafting their way.
Not playing their way.
Yeah.
All they have to do is be alive, and they're going to be in primetime.
Yeah.
That's all they got to do.
It's the brand. I've conceded
I'll watch.
that.
I'll hate watch them. Like it. People care about the Cowboys whether they're great or not.
But they said storylines too.
Yeah.
They got storylines.
100%.
Always got storylines.
Corey in Hendersonville next up at the phones this morning. Hey, Corey.
Hey, guys. So there was two things that I wanted to touch on. You guys were talking about the load management in the NBA. I think one of the things the NBA did really well was extending the playoff bracket to the play-in tournament with seeds 7 through 10. And you notice early or later in this season, that it came down to the final game for some of these teams, whether they got into had to be playing the play-in tournament versus being like the 6th seed. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that in the NBA, we have the draft lottery. What if the NFL were to implement something like that in terms of keeping teams from most of them say they're not tanking, but, to keep them from tanking, and it kind of makes it a little bit more of an even playing field when it comes to having the chance to get the number 1 overall pick.
I like that.
Thank you, Corey. I'll be honest, I hate the lottery idea for the NFL.
I don't know how they do it.
I totally hate it because teams earn the ability to draft a franchise-changing position and the most important position in sports. And if you are bad enough, let's say the Titans had the 5th pick this year, that is what gets teams and markets stuck in irrelevance for generations because they can't pick the most important position. There is not an equivalent of quarterback in basketball, which is why you can have more options to pick in the top 5 overall picks. Like there is no equivalent of quarterback. And the second the NFL starts trying to do things to create just a television product that changes the competitive equity of their league is the second they lose sight of who they are. Because the NFL, we're going to watch regardless. The NFL does not need to do things just for television events. Yeah. It's the National Football League. They can play on a Tuesday at 10 a.m., and we would all get off work to go watch it. So I hate the draft lottery idea for the NFL, respectfully to the caller, because the second a team is bad enough to finally get a quarterback and they don't, that team just becomes irrelevant for literally generations.
The only pushback I have to that one, one of the pushbacks I have to that one, is the idea that it forces teams to make better moves in the front office as far as coaching and climate of their team too. Because again, to your point about the tanking side that the NFL does do, you know when a team is about to pack it up, and that sucks for the optics of the team, and also as a player, it sucks playing against those types of teams too, because those teams get lawless because their coaches don't care. They put you in harm's way more times because you know they are tanking for the number one overall pick in those moments right there. It makes the game, that to me, I will say, it waters the game down when you realize the team is doing it.
Well, and more teams would start to tank then in the NFL.
Because of the lottery?
Because of the lottery. If you were in the final 5 or 6 spots and you had an opportunity to go get Cam Ward this past season, more teams are trying to put themselves in the ability to get one of the best 3 odds at that point instead of just the best. Like, there were only a couple teams that could have had the number 1 pick. Late on last season, you would have had more teams joining that process.
Except for the
Let's
Mavericks.
Continue this. Let's continue this.
Threw it off this year, though.
615-737-1045. More of your phone calls and more reaction on the NFL lottery discussion. Maybe even some NBA talk coming up next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
Ready to fight back and win back your backyard from relentless mosquitoes like I was? Let me tell you about the Mosquito Max from All American Pest Control. All American's Mosquito Max is my one-stop proven solution for both mosquitoes and year-round pest prevention. With All America's Mosquito Max, you get monthly mosquito misting, spiderweb removal, and perimeter pest control around your home. It's the ultimate solution for a mosquito-free summer. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your summer, right? Make the switch to All American Pest today. Visit yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com. And make sure you tell them that Ramon sent you.
Ramon Will continues at 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the first half of your Monday morning. Fueled up by Scooter's Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We stream the show live at 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. So on the lottery front, you're less against it than I am with the NFL.
Yeah. The NFL side, so you said I'm less against it. The way I look at it is I like the way the NFL does it. I won't lie. And to say the worst team should get better because it keeps the league competitive. What got me was this year the fact that the Dallas Mavericks won it when they had a 1% chance of getting it.
Right.
That's where, to your point about like a team that needs a quarterback, that wants the number one quarterback that had the worst record in the league, that becomes problematic for that team to get better. Now, again, I'm always going to charge that type of stuff to the management of your organization. What is the front office actually doing? Because I look at a team, one of the main pushbacks I have by saying the lottery could be better or worse for the league is this. Some teams have been picking in the top 3 positions for over a decade, and they still are that bad. So what's the benefit of basically celebrating bad teams?
Right. That's fair.
You know? And because, again, I look at the team like the Cleveland Browns, who've had some good over the years, but, like, they're consistently in that top 5 picking range with no Super Bowl to show for it, no anything.
It's a lifeline for incompetence sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it was a lifeline for the Mavericks, who made one of the worst trades that have been made in the NBA in a generation.
Yeah.
And now they get rewarded with the number 1 overall pick in the process.
Yeah.
So they had the 11th best odds to get the number 1 overall pick, the Mavericks, at 1.8%. 11th overall this year in the NFL draft was the San Francisco 49ers. Imagine San Francisco getting the opportunity to pick number 1 overall this year. Mm. It's not the way it should be.
No. That's
not the way it should be.
That's Abdul Carter going out there. Right.
Or it's trading with, maybe they would have done a trade with the Giants. And then the Giants give up everything. Or maybe the Titans.
No.
Like, they might force you as the Titans, if you really loved Cam Ward, to go give up everything for him.
That creates a soap opera that the NFL becomes more than anything, right?
But they don't
that's
need
the fireworks. I know they don't, but
NFL
like that
doesn't need that.
But like that's what the NBA is allowed. I ain't gonna say that's what the NBA is allowed to do, but like that's what happens at times where you're trading away future firsts and second rounds and players.
It's what every other league not named the NFL is trying to capture. The same level of attention and drama that the NFL gives by just being itself.
I just like the idea that it's not a lock that if you're worst team, you're going to get it. Now, I do think the bad teams in the NFL deserve some grace as far as trying to get back relevant again, but so much goes into that more than just the players sometimes.
In the NBA, we've got our Final Four. Knicks over the Celtics, 119-81 in Game 6. A lot of folks, Ramon, are about to learn about the Knicks-Pacers rivalry.
Oh, yes. Yes, they are,
Old school rivalry renewed. Knicks in the conference final for the first time in 25 years.
And they're letting everybody know it, too.
They sure are. That town is going to explode if they somehow get to an NBA Finals.
There was absolutely nothing Boston can do the other night either. I mean, the Knicks played their lights out, man, as it pertains to how they went. Yesterday, I know you're about to get to that one, too. A little bit of a dud of a Game 7.
125-93, the Thunder over the Nuggets in Game 7. So it'll be Thunder and T-Wolves.
I was texting Savage during the game. I was just like, this is the time that the general fan should be watching the NBA because you're seeing so much physicality.
Agree. I completely agree.
You're seeing the game. You're seeing attempted flops, but they're not calling it. Like Joker yesterday, I thought probably had 5 fouls that could have got called against him or called for him.
Yeah,
and they didn't. And they absolutely beat Joker down yesterday. There was nothing he could do. It was interesting here. His post game was just like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of beers in the next couple of days. He probably need that, plus some ice baths.
To me, it is as interesting as the conference finals have been for me in a little while. Because I like the fact that it's new brands and new teams that haven't been here and haven't won recently at all, that have the opportunity to do something new. You've got a young influx of superstar talent in the West between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards. That is going to be a terrific matchup to watch in the Western Conference and in the East. I mean, again, people of a certain age, and I'm putting myself in that boat as well, but many people of a certain age are unfamiliar with how good of a rivalry Pacers and Knicks is. That is worth tuning into just for that, is how much those fan bases and teams hate each other. It is great that as TNT bows out of NBA coverage, they bow out with Reggie Miller doing Knicks Pacers.
I love it. I love it.
That is a great way to for NBA to sign off and have a victory lap as NBA on TNT.
By the way, Aaron Gordon, Denver's forward, said this too. He wants the NBA playoff structure to change too. He don't think they should be playing games and it be every other day on top of travel, because he's dealing with this hamstring issue. Yeah. He's asking for 2 days in between because he said it would mean for a better product for the NBA fans in the playoffs, and it'll allow guys to get back healthy too, which means a better product on the court. So I'm not sure if they're going to end up changing that, but he was at the podium because he played with the hammy issue, like asking for it, somewhat demanding a change in the structure of the every other day playoff series that they have right now.
615-737-1045 is our number as we roll into the second half of your Monday morning. Power Conference commissioners met again over the weekend to discuss changes to the future of the college football playoff. And we'll give you the latest on that coming up next. Go on the pros, go Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Will Bowling joined by Trey Hartsook this morning to take care of your lawns. Trey, you guys, they've got the best parts, products, service, you name it. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply does it. Trey, tell us about what makes you guys different here in Middle Tennessee.
Hey, Will, I'll tell you, man, something that we've really been trying to do here lately is be a company that where if you need any advice on turf grass, on lawnmowers, on any of that stuff, we really want to try to help you and make it as easy on you as possible. So maybe you're somebody that likes having a nice lawn and you really don't know how to present that. And we promise, man, whether you have 0.3 of an acre or 33 acres, we can guide you along the way. So we have a turf plan that's once a month application. You follow that, and we're pretty confident that you're going to have a really great lawn and you'll be happy with the results. Stop in and see us. Come talk to us about it. We're conveniently located all over Middle Tennessee. Got locations in Nashville, Hendersonville, Murfreesboro, Bellevue, Brentwood, Lamar, Mountain Juliet, and Franklin. Open up at 7 a.m., closing at 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 to 12 on Saturdays. If you can't get a hold of us, check us out online, DickensSupply.com.
It is 8:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. Friday, the San Francisco 49ers paid their quarterback as Brock Purdy agreed on a massive 5-year, $265 million extension. The deal includes $181 million in guarantees and will have an average of $53 million per year. The conference finals are set. In the NBA, the New York Knicks will face the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 is Wednesday in New York. The Oklahoma City Thunder will face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Final with Game 1 tomorrow night in OKC. In the NHL, the Dallas Stars advance to the Western Conference Finals to face the Edmonton Oilers. Game 1 is in Dallas Wednesday night. And the Florida Panthers are heading to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Carolina Hurricanes. Game 1 is tomorrow night in Raleigh. Tennessee Vols baseball lost their 5th straight SEC series over the weekend in the regular season finale against the Arkansas Razorbacks, losing 2-1. Tennessee finishes the season in the SEC play 16-14 with an overall record of 41-15 on the season. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning, Ramon Will is fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, locally owned near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Into the second half of the show, 11-year NFL veteran, Vol for Life, Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. And coming up in 15 minutes, we will be joined by Eric Cain of VolQuest, who's going to fix Tennessee baseball for us.
Man, well, Ron Slay was right. This is what I'm saying, what I'm figuring out with Vols baseball right now. Because goodness gracious, when he said they suck, yeah, they're in that territory now.
Losing 2 out of 3 over the weekend to Arkansas, and as they plummet, Vanderbilt is rising.
Yeah,
Sweeping Kentucky over the weekend. So we'll set the table for the SEC baseball tournament and talk some baseball with Eric Cain coming up here at 8:20. Over the weekend, Ramon, Power Conference commissioners met once again to discuss the future of the college football playoff. Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger with the report. A compromise for the Big 12 and ACC regarding a 16-team model was part of the discussion. So Saturday's meeting is the second time that conference commissioners have gathered to talk about potential expansion in the last 10 days. ESPN's Pete Thamel reports that Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti appeared virtually since he's in California for the conference's upcoming spring meetings, SEC spring meetings at the official vacation spot of the SEC coming up in Destin over the next couple of weeks as well. So, again, the proposed 16-team bracket would include 4 automatic bids for each of the SEC and Big Ten, according to Dellinger. The ACC and Big 12 would get 2 spots each, while the group of 6 would get 1. There would also be 3 at-large spots. Ramon, let's start positively this morning. It's a Monday morning. We're trying to start off people's weeks positively on a rainy Monday. What do you like about the 16-team bracket in this proposal?
Right now, I'll be quite honest with you, the fact that the Big 12 gets some inclusion in it, I think that's huge, more than anything, man, because that conference with Texas and Oklahoma in it had a whole lot of history behind it. And I almost feel like where they are right now with the teams they have currently in the Big 12, that they're almost getting overshadowed. It feels very respectfully Pac-12-ish at this point. To where if you continue to allow them to just sit and waddle in their own misery almost in a sense, then you lose them too. So that inclusion and keeping them competitive, I think, is huge. The same can be said about the ACC too, but I feel like the ACC have names already that you know and you recognize. The Florida States, the Miamis, right? The Clemson, who's going to be very strong this year. That's what I do like about it more than anything is the inclusion of those. I can go on and brag about the SEC and the Big Ten having their share, but I think that creates a war moving forward with the teams trying to get in those Final Four spots right there.
It is interesting. There are a number of really interesting Big 12 teams entering this year. The main one being Arizona State.
You don't think it's Texas Tech?
Arizona State for me still.
Arizona State.
Sam Leavitt.
Yeah, that's right.
The guys coming back.
Uh-huh.
And Kenny Dillingham keeping that staff together and Kenny Dillingham not looking elsewhere. The scare they put into Texas got my attention and I think a lot of people's attention that was more than just a good resurgent Big 12 story. That's a national contender for a top 4 to 6 overall seed, even if conference champions aren't handed a top 4 overall seed. Like, I believe that much in who Kenny Dillingham is as a coach and the quarterback that he has in Sam Levitt.
Okay. I'll ride with you there. I was thinking Texas Tech on the basis of what they've done.
And Texas Tech is one of the most fascinating teams in the sport this year because they are the ultimate case study. And can you build through NIL an entire roster in one offseason and it work?
And that's what I want to see. And then we always speak about this too. It's never really the year you expect. It's the year after. And we're going to see if they can sustain whatever happens this year, good or bad, to finally get to a point of where they get very competitive. But it's a good conference. I do like them being in it, though, like having those two teams instead of it being one or whatever it was going to be.
So Ross Dellinger also reported that interleague play-in games could also be in the cards at the end of the year. That would put the third-place team in a conference against the sixth-place team, as well as fourth place against fifth place. Pete Thamel also reported that the focus is on a 16-team playoff, which would begin in 2026. That is when the current agreement with ESPN ends, although an extension will also kick in at the end of that deal. Mississippi State AD Zach Selman has been open about this, saying he strongly supports the play-in games for the CFP, pointing out the addition of more meaningful games to the schedule as a reason he would be in favor of the move. How do you feel about the play-in game idea in conferences?
It's essentially what it seemed like the NFL, what the Detroit Lions proposed to the NFL in a sense, like you play or you're seeded how you choose to win and lose games. I like it, but does it turn into a 13th game?
Yep.
It does.
Yep. Just like conference championship weekend, except 6 teams are playing in it versus only 2.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, if you make the SEC championship, you're guaranteed a spot. Then 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. You do a weekend at Atlanta. Play a Friday night game and 2 on Saturday.
I'm going to sign up for it, Will. I'm going to be real with you.
I mean, it's good television. Granted, what's good television is not always what is good for the sport. But it's good theater.
It is good theater, but it also raises the conversation even more about the revenue sharing and the splits that players are getting, right? Because if we're very serious about them being student athletes, correct, then why are we adding another football game to their plate? That means to me there should be some compensation, more than just what they expect your value to be in NIL.
That's coming too with the house settlement.
I will say that part of it more than anything.
That's going to happen.
It has to happen. Yeah,
it's happening for sure. It's already done.
The compensation has to be there if we're adding the game, and drop the whole student athlete side of it. At that point, we're in the money making business.
It's interesting to me the way this impacts the regular season, because I do think that we could live in a world where conference races become that much more important when you're only basing all of this off of a conference schedule, a conference season. So the 8th place team playing the 4th place team in November becomes a lot more interesting. More teams are playing more meaningful games into November and December. My critique of that for years has been we are building up drama for teams that have no chance of winning the national championship. Does that change in conference races? Maybe. Like, in the way that manifests itself practically. Could Ole Miss or South Carolina have won the national championship last year? Probably not. If you give them a more advantageous route to get there, you give them a path to competing for more national championships, does the talent distribute a bit more evenly among the top 20 teams of the sport versus the top 10 teams of the sport? That's the question I have. Can Ole Miss, South Carolina, LSU, Auburn, Tennessee, can these teams sell an easier path to a national championship now with more guaranteed seats at the table? To me, it just feels like all the talent is just going to go to those 2 conferences, but it's going to be more evenly distributed in those 2 conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten.
It makes everything around getting good more competitive, though. I will say this, the amount of the recruits that you're looking at to make your team whole plays a huge part in it also. More than anything, I felt like we saw a little bit of this last year. It was the Ole Miss in Florida, when Florida wasn't supposed to win? Like, does Ole Miss take a different approach to playing if this structure is set up in that 13th week or whatever, you know?
What I don't like is that loss would have meant nothing now in the new format. And that's where I think there's negatives to the system.
Yeah.
Is losing a conference game doesn't kill you. So it makes your losses more meaningless in the moment, even though it makes games down the road more meaningful.
They will, yeah.
If that makes sense.
To your point, well, here's the other side of it, though, too. With the way the two conferences are set up with the Big Ten and the SEC, wasn't that one of the conversation pieces behind Indiana last year, too? The idea that Indiana, because how top-heavy, the bottom half of their scheduling was so weak, well, if you have that playoff play-in scenario, then you put Indiana up against a better team, right? Then you'll see where they actually should be seated and if they deserve to be in the college football playoffs. That's what it does.
That is what I like about it, is it makes up for unbalanced schedules in conferences that are so big that you can't always guarantee a balanced schedule. Like, that is the part of it that I think is meaningful to teams on both ends of that conversation. Like, last year, Florida and Oklahoma played gauntlet schedules, and they're going to again this season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, though, they have the opportunity where you've got a little bit of a cushion for that, where if they're the 5 or 6 seed in the SEC, they can play a 3rd or 4th seeded Georgia, who had a cakewalk of an SEC schedule, or Texas, who had a cakewalk of an SEC schedule, comparatively. Now, those two teams obviously made the conference championship game. They wouldn't have been in the playoff rounds, but it does give you a little bit of a buffer if one team plays 5 top 15 teams in a year or another team only plays 1. Because these conferences are so big, there is no way to guarantee competitive balance in terms of how hard or easy someone's schedule is. That's the only thing I really like about this. But we'll see. I do not have a lot of faith in the people that are in charge of college football to get this right.
They just want to
I
sell
really
it.
don't. They just want money.
Yeah, they're going to sell it.
Yeah, they just want their beach houses in Destin to be a little bit bigger.
Oh, with the jet skis and the seating boats, fishing boats.
At least for the SEC, it's Destin. For the Big 12 and Big 10, it's their houses in California and Arizona.
Man, that $500,000 fishing boat ain't going to pay for itself, Will.
It's part of the SEC bylaws. If you are an SEC football coach, you got to have a villa in Panama City or Destin. It's the way it works.
Ain't no other way.
That's where the SEC vacations, and I love it. I will literally be there next week.
So does South Carolina go down to Destin, or do they go to Hilton Head?
Both. Por qué no los dos?
Well, they definitely need it then, Will.
Myrtle Beach, throw them in there too?
Yeah, might as well throw Myrtle in there. I forgot all about Myrtle.
615-737-1045. We'll get back to your phone calls. Hang on with us. We'll get back to you here in just a few minutes. But when we come back, Eric Cain of VolQuest joins us after this.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, I got my appointment tomorrow to go back and see Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley. Man, it's because they will not give up on you. So much so, right now they have a 47% off their non-surgical spinal decompression. I know what you're probably thinking, Ramon, like this doesn't work. I'm here to tell you it does. This is my personal endorsement, man. I had a knee issue I was dealing with, and my back was just a little hurting. Because you know what? Putting all that weight on your back and squatting and hitting grown men for a living, it can have its back. It can have its drawbacks to you. But what I'm telling you is this: since I've left there, I felt a whole lot better. My work has gotten a whole lot better, and just in general, my body does. I don't care if you're lifting kids or on a construction site, or you just genetically was born with a back issue. Hear me out. Going to the Wellness Institute of Nashville is going to help you. Don't deal with that pain when you don't have to. Trust me, I side-eyed it early too, but I promise you this, it works and it helps you. A pain-free life is possible. So reach out to the company I trust, man, the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You can call them at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com. Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting, your driveway is cracked and sinking, or your porch steps, maybe they've moved on you. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous situation, just trip hazard around your home. It's also just a big eyesore. It's Ramon Will. Whatever's going on with your concrete, call United Structural Systems. Ask them about their polyurethane foam injections. You've heard about USS for a long time. It's the same company that has provided superior foundation repair and waterproofing to Middle Tennessee since 1994. Well, they can also fix your sunken or settling concrete. USS uses polyurethane foam injections to lift and repair sinking concrete in a matter of minutes. Lifted concrete can be walked on immediately or even driven on after 30 minutes. So don't go through that long, expensive process of ripping out and replacing concrete. Reach out to the company that I trust, man. You can go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooters Coffee. Alongside Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Tennessee baseball dropping another series over the weekend after taking game one. A lot of the same issues popping up. Joining us now to talk about that, set the table for the SEC tournament this week in Hoover. He is Eric Cain of VolQuest, kind enough to give us a few minutes this morning. Eric, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, guys. Doing well. Appreciate you having me on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at all the issues, Eric, with this Tennessee baseball team, where do we begin? Because there is a lot to unpack. There are a lot of the same problems that are popping up week in and week out. For those that are maybe just tuning in to college baseball in the middle of May here, what's wrong with this Tennessee team?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, there's an abundance of talent. There's a lot of talent on this roster. I mean, this team is littered with, Major League Baseball prospects. There's going to be a ton of guys that are going to be drafted this summer. So the talent's not the issue whatsoever. It's just, at points in time this season, timely hitting. Tennessee is not the cleanest team defensively, and it's not been the cleanest team defensively in years past, but all these things just kind of overshadow that, and it didn't really stand out. Well, when you're not hitting as well with runners in scoring position, and when you're not pitching the baseball well, I mean, this weekend specifically, Arkansas scored 10 runs on Thursday, 8 runs on Friday, 8 runs on Saturday. There's been some issues with the bullpen, throughout the season as well, and I think that's kind of been, what's holding Tennessee back the most is the too few options out of the bullpen, not enough options. That type of stuff. So, again, a lot of talent. They played well at points in time this season. They have not played well all told the last 6 weeks, and that's kind of not where you want to be heading into the postseason. But one positive, from this weekend in Fayetteville, the offense started clicking again. Left too many men on base, but, hitting with runners in scoring position, runs scored. Tennessee out-hit Arkansas over the weekend, so that's a positive for sure.
Eric Cain of VolQuest with us. Eric, it's interesting that last season's strength was the ability to win a series when you had to. And Tennessee only lost one rubber match all year. They only lost one series all year to Alabama at the beginning of SEC play. This season, 2-6 in a series-deciding rubber match, Game 3. How surprised have you been just with this team's inability to finish off series, considering how good they were in those games last season?
Yeah, 2-6 on the year, losing 5 straight rubber matches. I mean, this team, it's got a knack for not being swept, right? And I mean, Tennessee actually lost 6 of the SEC series and only won 4. Ended up with a winning record in conference play, but it's because Tennessee swept a couple of series, and Tennessee was never swept. So, it will never, just go down. It's always going to go down with a fight. But it is very surprising that Tennessee, lost 6 of those rubber matches this year. Very uncharacteristic of what we've seen in years past. And again, I think that just kind of goes back to showing you that, Game 3 in college baseball can be wild. It's when you run out of pitching, you got long games, you got high-scoring games, and I feel like this year specifically, Tennessee just hasn't had enough arms to finish off those series. And again, it's baseball is a long game. I mean, you get a hit here in this inning, you drive a guy in the 6th inning here. I mean, that can change the complexion of the game. Maybe you leave the starter in for another out or two, but for the most part, I think in those Game 3s, one of the contributing factors for Tennessee not getting over the hump in those rubber match games is simply just kind of running out of pitching.
We're joined by Eric Cain of VolQuest on 3 this morning. Cain, man, did we get a clear answer on the balk by Tegan Coons in the 3rd inning, man? I didn't see it, but hey, Tony V like he about lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean, no clear answer whatsoever, and I don't know where the balk was. And again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an umpire and I know what I'm looking for and all that type of stuff. But just for a guy who covers the game of baseball, I did not see a balk there. And right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. That was a massive call in the baseball game. Just a huge call. It was a really, really good move to first base. Arguably could have got him out right there. But a balk is called. Runner goes to second. But what followed was even worse. And this is the issue that we've seen with this team at points of times this year. When something goes wrong, adversity hits, sometimes you see self-imploding. And what followed was a ground ball to second. It was botched by the second baseman into right center field. Run comes in to score, tie game. So you went from a 2-1 game, Tennessee leading, to a tie game, and then you have back-to-back walks, then you have a grand slam. So in the blink of an eye, it's a 2-1 Tennessee lead, and then a 6-2 Arkansas lead. So the balk call was bad in my opinion, and I would love to hear the reasoning for that, but we haven't. The ball call was bad. What happened afterwards was just as bad, if not worse, because it let things spiral out of hand. And again, that's an issue. The self-imploding, the sloppy defense, not handling adversity well at times, and unfortunately, that's what we saw on Saturday.
No doubt about it. When you look at this, the pitching staff this year, right, as it pertains to what the guys have done, there's so much talent from freshmen all the way up to the senior class that they have that can just pitch it, man. Are there going to be questions asked, or is Tony Vitello going to be in a position to where he not necessarily might have to make a decision on Frank Anderson, the pitching coach, but Marcus Phillips has struggled. We've seen other guys, the bulk situation, right? Either the respect of what he's doing as a coach isn't there as far as the umps go, or do you question having him, as your guy, considering also with Chase last year leaving to go to Wake Forest? Like, there's been questions surrounding Frank Anderson. I'm just wondering, where do you get with him on staff?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a change made in terms of Tennessee pitching coach, I would assume that it would be Frank Anderson retiring whenever that may be. I don't foresee ever a situation where Tennessee would make a change and it not be Frank Anderson just electing to retire. Ultimately, you look at I could be wrong, but that's just kind of my feel on it. I mean, you look at the stats you hear with Tennessee. I mean, the team ERA is 3.80, which is not horrible, but you look at SEC play, that's inflated a bit. You go and you see the ERAs over 5 and all that. I mean, Marcus Phillips, for the most part this year, I mean, he's been a really good story. He's pitched well. The fact that he's been a starting pitcher all year long, I would not have told you that was going to happen in fall. His Major League Baseball, draft stock has soared. His issue is he hasn't pitched an awful lot. He doesn't know how to manage the run game, and that's really, really hurt him at times. And Tennessee's philosophy with runners on base is, the battle's the guy on base, the war's at the plate. Focus on the war. That's all fine and dandy, and that's great. But whenever they're you put a guy on first and it's an automatic triple, that's an issue. And so Tennessee's been trying to work with that a little bit as well. But Marcus Phillips, the pitcher this year, has been pretty good. Liam Doyle, of course, is arguably, in my opinion, going to be the SEC pitcher of the year. We'll see what happens. And then you got some other guys. I mean, Nate Snead, we know what Nate Snead can do. He's obviously not had the year that he wants. And then there's some young guys and some junior college guys that just haven't quite turned the corner just yet. So it's been an uncharacteristic, bizarre year, I guess, for the staff. We'll see if that can change a little bit, whenever Tennessee goes into postseason play. But they do have options. They do have numbers. They just have to, have guys pitch a little bit better.
Yeah.
Eric Cain of VolQuest, our guest. So, Eric, what would it take for Tennessee and Hoover this week to host a regional in the NCAA tournament?
Good question. So Tennessee's going to kick off play Wednesday morning, and they're going to take on the winner of Missouri and Alabama. Missouri's the 16th seed. Alabama's the 9th seed. You would assume that Alabama wins that game, and Tennessee will play Alabama. Alabama's a team that has got a top 10 RPI, so that would help Tennessee if Tennessee were to win that game. Say you beat Alabama, that's a pretty good RPI win. You move on to play Texas, who's the number 1 overall seed. That's coming up on Thursday. Texas has the number 4 RPI, I believe. So if you win that game, that helps you. So I think at minimum, Tennessee would need to win its first 2 games. You need to win over Alabama. I don't think beating Missouri is going to do much for you. Need to beat Alabama, need to beat Texas, and then see what happens from there. Obviously, if you keep on winning, that helps you. I think you need some other help from around the country and all that. At this point in time, I don't see Tennessee hosting unless it goes on some type of run here. I have a hard time believing that the committee is going to award a team that lost 6 of the past 7 weekends with the host line. But again, Hoover can change things, and we've seen teams that get hot at the right time. Ole Miss 2022, Florida was, I want to say 27-28 this time last year, was one of the last teams in the field, went to Omaha. So teams can get hot at the end. I mean, baseball is a wild sport to where if you have enough pitching, you can go. But I think at minimum this week, if Tennessee wants to host a regional, you need to beat your first 2 games and then get some help. And we'll see what happens from there.
So, Eric, what could Tony Vitello have done differently for this team to not get to this point? Are there any things you feel like he goes back to the drawing board and says, no, I managed this wrong, I did this wrong? What adjustments do you see him making moving forward, or is this just college baseball and the luck of the draw and things just didn't really work out Tennessee's way this time around?
I think a lot of it's just college baseball, and it's funny, and I put a note on the Journal's Quarters over at VolQuest.com. I think it was last week. You look at, and I'm not trying to make any excuses, but you look at defending national champions and how they fared the next year, specifically in conference. Mississippi State in 2021, abysmal in 2022. Right. Ole Miss in 2022-23, abysmal in 2023. Like Tennessee's SEC record and Tennessee's overall record from a defending national champion, it's actually not that bad. So it feels horrible right now. I get it. But, based on previous national champions, and in the last 10 years, specifically in the SEC, Florida's the outlier. I think they won in 2017 and went on in 2018 and had like a 20-10 conference record. But point is, Tennessee's actually done pretty well in that regards. But anyway, back to your point, I'm sure Tony Vitello would sit here and say, I wish I could have done this one differently, this one differently, this one differently. I'll give him credit. He has nitpicked with the lineup. He's moved pieces around. The injury to Gavin Keelan midseason allowed the opportunity to see what Ariel Antigua could do, to see what Dean Curley could do at third base and then at second base, to see what Manny Marin could do at shortstop and at second base. And he's tried Jay Abernathy in left field, and he's toyed with Chris Newstrom a little bit in the lineup. So he's moved some things around trying to find that perfect combination. In terms of the pitching, he made a move in terms of flipping Marcus Phillips and Liam Dole last week, but that's pretty much all he's done. He's played around with the Game 3 starter all year long. I'll give him credit. He's certainly tried to mix and match some things, but in-game management, and I mean, there's things that I'm sure he would change from game to game. But overall, I think that he's tried to find the right combination all year long, and he's still trying to search for that.
Eric Cain with us this morning. Cain, Texas' head coach said this the other day. It's a little bit premature. There's a whole lot of truth to it. Winning the regular season SEC is probably harder than winning the World Series. How do you view that comment?
I mean, this is the toughest conference in all college baseball, much like football, much like, basketball, much like, track and field. I mean, the SEC, it truly does just mean more. So winning the SEC regular season is so impressive. Winning the SEC in Hoover for the tournament's a bit different because your first game and or two is going to be like a midweek game until you get to the weekend. You get to the weekend, those good teams can take over with their starting pitching. It's a little bit of a different story. But I think there's some truth to that in some respects. But then again, you go to Omaha, and it's such a whirlwind of a 2-week experience if you're there for the entire time. Different formats. Of course, you're trying to win a regional. Then you advance on and win a best of a 2-game, best of 3-game series. You have all the media attention. You have the weather. You have the heat that is Omaha. And you have a lot of good baseball teams. So I don't necessarily want to agree with that completely because, I mean, winning a national championship is so hard, just getting there with the regional, then the supers, and then in Omaha. But to his point, in terms of the SEC and the challenges and the strength of the conference, it is very impressive to win the SEC. And maybe that was just some lip service trying to pump up his guys a little bit, and that's fine. But winning the SEC is very impressive. Being the last team standing in Omaha is what everybody wants to do, and certainly Tennessee knows what that takes.
Cain, to somewhat piggyback off of Will's question earlier, too, as far as the adjustments that Tony Vitello has to make, but what is Tony Vitello's philosophy more than anything going into it? Because I feel like after winning it, you got to find a way to be sustainable as a coach, right? I think that's why Tim Corbin has a reputation. You look at LSU, they had the down year, and they bounced right back. This type of stuff happened, but as a coach, you have to evolve. Where do you see him moving forward with his philosophy as a team? Because like you said, they're too talented to have these type of mistakes happen, but they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Tony, he's a relentless recruiter, and he's always has been a relentless recruiter. And, some of these freshmen that, there's been a lot of freshmen that have played a lot of baseball this year for Tennessee. You go back to 2022, and, Christian Moore and Blake Burke, they played, in a part-time role essentially. There's been some freshmen here and there that have contributed, but points in time, Tennessee's relied on Manny Marin a ton, Levi Clark a ton, Jay Abernathy a ton, Tegan Coons a ton, Braden Krenzel a ton. There's a lot of these freshmen that they won from the draft. Like Tennessee won the draft last year in terms of getting players not going professionally, coming to campus and all that. And I think Tony Vitello is going to continue to be that relentless recruiter as well. I think he's going to attack the portal as he always does. I mean, 2 portal additions last year that were pretty daggone good, and Liam Dole and Andrew Fisher. I think that's got to continue as well. So, for Tony, I just think that you don't need any major drastic changes. He's been the most successful head coach in college baseball over the last 5 years. You've won a national championship. The next year you had a winning record in conference play, and the season's still going. We'll see what happens. So I don't think anything drastically needs to change for Tony Vitello or this program. More so than anything, these young guys just need to continue to play, continue to get some reps, and get back to work in the offseason for next year, whenever the season's over.
He is Eric Cain of VolQuest and On 3, talking Tennessee baseball, SEC baseball with us here this morning. You can follow his work down in Hoover throughout the week as Tennessee begins the SEC tournament this week as well. Eric, always good to catch up with you. Thank you, sir.
Definitely. Appreciate it, Cain.
Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Eric Cain. I think there's always this idea that when Tennessee baseball stumbles a little bit, like there's a comment in our YouTube chat, the team just needs an attitude adjustment. And they just, let this be a lesson. Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
as far as what, though?
Like, this season is not going to teach them to, like, talk less trash.
Be humble.
Or be, like, they didn't have an attitude adjustment last year. They won the national championship.
Yeah.
One season where it doesn't come all together for you does not mean you change the way you do things throughout the whole playbook. Now, this team has not earned the right to be a little chesty with Vanderbilt and trash talk a little bit after games. Yeah. As last year's team, like, I'm willing to have that conversation. I said that last week after Tennessee got beat by Vandy. But the culture of Tennessee baseball and who they are as a program, like, they got to the top of the sport by acting this way and by recruiting that type of player. Right. That's not going to change based off of one season.
And that was the point that I wanted to know from E. Cain, because he's around a little bit more. Is, do they view how Tony Vitello recruits or how he leads, to be quite honest with you, as a standard method of operating, right? And I think you're right. That's just who he recruits in those players. Now, E. Cain brought up a great point. There's a lot of freshmen and young guys on this team that's playing. And that gap year that you had, because what was LSU? LSU last year wasn't that good.
No, they weren't.
And now look at LSU. What were they, a couple years removed? What was it, Tommy Tanks, right? And they won it all.
Right. Yep. He was there last year, too. Exactly.
But, like, that last year wasn't the year that they planned on having after that national championship, is the point being made. But now looking at LSU, if you're a Tennessee fan or a fan that wants to pile on, look at LSU. This is what you somewhat expect from the Vols going into it. Now, I asked a question about the pitching coach because as of late, they've made some changes. I did notice Marcus Phillips switched days on when he was going to pitch.
And that was more for rest for Liam Doyle.
No doubt. But it's a fascinating approach to what they're going to be moving forward.
LSU last season was 13-17 in the SEC.
Yeah.
Coming off the national championship, Tennessee this year is 16-14.
Yeah, it happens.
They're the best defending national champion in SEC play in recent memory. And they haven't had a good season, but it's not been the kind of season to, like, teach them to do things differently. If that makes sense.
I will say, shout out to Bubba and Dixon for bringing it up. Ladies Vols smacked this weekend, okay?
Yeah.
Softball team.
Ohio State is going to be really tired of seeing Lady Vols teams on the other side after Lady Vols basketball put them out and now Lady Vols softball put them out. Where's that really annoying Ohio State fan who called in trash talking us for football? We got you best 2 out of 3.
We did.
We just needed the women to get the job done for us. Needed the ladies to take care of us.
Hey, the revolution will be televised by a woman is what we learned if you're a Vols fan. You hear me? Yeah. That's what I did think. I was like, we had to use the Lady Vols to go get our lick back from Ohio State. We did it 2 times.
Credit where credit it's due. Vanderbilt sweeping Kentucky over the weekend. A 5-3 Saturday win. Vandy clinches a top 4 finish in the SEC. They will certainly be a national seed once the NCAA tournament begins. Heck, at this point, looking at a top 8 overall seed where they'd be able to host a super regional here in Nashville. Vandy right on the precipice of 40 wins, 39 wins so far for Tim Corbin's team. As much as people kind of eulogized him and that program, good for them kind of getting their get back this year. Mm-hmm. And Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt baseball have reminded people that they are not finished as a program just because the one in Knoxville has been better for the past 5 years. They are very much still here to stay. And credit to Tim Corbin on adapting to a lot of the ways the sport has changed while also still being true to himself and what has worked to make him one of the top 5 coaches in that sport.
That's what I thought of on asking that question for Tony V. Is Corbin and Vandy got back. You know what I'm saying? And it took recruiting. It took the portal. And it took
more than one bad year to encourage him to make changes. Like, it's not even really been that bad of a year for Tennessee. There's not enough to totally throw out the playbook.
But, good conversation. Baseball is good here in the state, man.
It is. It's Hoover week.
It's Hoover week. That's a good trip if you can, by the way.
Hoover?
Yeah, Hoover. I enjoyed it when we went down.
I've never been out of the SEC tournament.
It was actually pretty sweet. Nice. Fans are usually pretty cool, too. It's not like you're meeting anybody unruly. So it was actually a good environment when we went down for it.
615-737-1045. We talked about the major rule change the Lions have proposed in the NFL earlier on in the show. Well, there's another one this week that Adam Schefter says is expected to take a lot of the conversation at NFL owners' meetings in Minneapolis. We'll dive into that conversation coming up next.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Tariffs cause price hikes on imported diamonds and jewelry. It's Ramon Foster. But Genesis is not raising prices on the pre-tariff inventory right now. So all in-stock merchandise is an incredible value right now. Genesis prepared for the tariffs and made a lot of overseas purchases way in advance. Handcrafted ring, exquisite diamonds, colored gemstones, and a ton of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. Also, if you've got any special occasion coming up in the next 6 months or so, you need to get to Genesis now before the pre-tariff merchandise is gone. Genesis is always going to be the value leader here, regardless of what happens in the world. They were built on that foundation, but it's way beyond price. It's their selection, their quality, their outrageously good customer service, the industry leading warranties, all right? And don't forget, Genesis is exclusive retailer for all top names in bridal jewelry. The brands other stores only wish they could get. Genesis Diamonds, where you always get more for your money, but especially right now. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Ramon Will, 1045 The Zone is brewed by Scooters Coffee, locally owned. Visit them near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Coming up, PFF's most underrated player on every NFL team. I'll tell you who they say is the most underrated player on the Tennessee Titans. Give you our thoughts on that coming up here to start hour 4. So, Ramon, the tush push is back in the conversation.
Not again.
In the NFL. Oh, yes. In Minneapolis this week, Adam Schefter writes on Twitter this morning that NFL owners are scheduled to meet tomorrow and Wednesday to vote on a proposal to ban the tush push that the Eagles have mastered. The proposal was tabled this spring at the league meeting in West Palm Beach, but is expected to come to a vote this week. Are you pro or anti-tush push?
I'm pro. Very much so.
I'm with you.
I'm pro.
Yeah.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb. This isn't like this is a flea flicker pass or the Statue of Liberty or the Fumblerooski or even with the Fumblerooski. Like, legitimately, like, stop it. Like, don't have dumb D linemen. Sorry, guys. Y'all know I don't feel the way about you unless we're competing against one another. But what I'm saying is this. Get your front office and coaches to coach their behinds off. Get them to do their thing and finding the right people that you want to incorporate this offense into this play into your offense. This isn't like rocket science on what they're doing. They're simply saying our bigs are better than yours.
Yeah. Stop us.
Stop us.
You know where we're going. Stop us.
What's the difference between having Tom Brady run a minute and 30, 2 minutes, drive? Like, those are the things we're saying. Like, there's no difference. It's not like they're adding something that others don't have the ability to have.
Yeah.
They got a quarterback that's willing to put his body on the line and get behind center and move forward with it. It ain't his fault that he squats over 500 pounds. Get your quarterback with more athletic ability that enjoys leg day at the gym is the way I look at it.
If you want to stop it, just sign better linemen. It's really that simple. Like, if it was that easy and that much of a cheat code that needed to be changed, every offense would be doing it.
Or find how to identify talent.
Yeah, right.
Jordan Mailata.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a 7th-round draft pick right now that's turning into a Pro Bowl All-Pro guy.
There's a reason why the team that is consistently investing in its bigs is better at this than everyone else. Okay. Maybe you should just do that, rest of the league. Crazy concept.
Look at the draft classes in free agency.
I know.
It's been bigs, to your point, Will.
At ESPN.com this morning, a story by Matt Bowen, who writes about best NFL team fits for remaining free agents and trade candidates. He does have one free agent, Ramon Foster, as a best fit for the Titans at linebacker. Kaiser White, inside linebacker, Matt Bowen says, would be a best fit for the Tennessee Titans, saying Titans signed Cody Barton in free agency, but there is still room for coordinator Denard Wilson to add another veteran at the second level. White is an off-ball linebacker with run-and-hit traits. He recorded 9 tackles for loss and 2.5 sacks last season with the Arizona Cardinals. Has the pursuit speed to track the ball on the edges with 6 interceptions and 16 pass breakups in his career. In Tennessee, White has the traits to play a 3-down role. Denard Wilson can set him up on pressures to make big plays. Kaiser White, someone you're interested in, Ramon Foster?
Man, I think as many bodies you can have at those efficient spots, the better. Yeah, I do like the idea of having a guy like him up, man. This team has to find a way to generate pressure. We talked a little bit about this past weekend with this past Friday with Cortland Finnegan about how rush and coverage have to be, 1-to-1. And one way to get better rushing is to have guys that are good at getting behind the line of scrimmage at those off-ball positions. So if Kaiser White is one of those guys, well, I'm of the mindset, sign him up. I feel like they're log jamming a few other spots on this team. You might as well do the same thing at off-ball linebacker, too.
Yep. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, I think him and, again, the former Houston Texan Neville Hewitt, those two guys who are still floating around out there in the free agency world, either of them, I think, would be very worthy additions to that inside linebacker room. It is going to be interesting, though, to watch how that position evolves because, again, having the number 1 pick in the waiver claim maybe discourages you from going out and signing someone you don't need until you feel like you do need them. And that's where the Titans don't have to be held hostage by a player's demands or an agent's demands in May. versus what you could be in June or July if guys aren't coming on the waiver wire who you were interested in, or B, you see things in camp or in practice from the two young guys, Otis Reese and Cedric Gray, and even James Williams I'll throw in there, that gives you some pause. Until they get out of the practice field with pads on, with shells on, doing more than just, individual drills and defense on defense work like they're doing right now, there is not a major need to go sign somebody unless you feel like the price is exactly what you want it to be.
For sure. And that's what sucks about it, too. It's just like we're asking for others to do the job that guys in-house are asked to do already, too. Like James Williams being in this conversation, the issue is you got to almost treat him like the porter. Like, he got some experience, but you love to have somebody with more. And you don't know what a full season as a starter would look like with him either. It is the sight unseen with a guy like him. I'm hoping it turns on for him, but he didn't play enough last year to justify the belief that you need in him.
How often do guys just have handshake deals with teams that they'll sign once OTAs are over and minicamp is over? That way they don't have to work out until training camp.
It happens often, at least the conversation.
Right. We talk about that a lot with, I remember DeAndre Hopkins, waited until mandatory workouts were done before he signed because he wanted to do his own thing until he no longer, was forced to do his own thing.
It is just the understanding that, look, you'll be ready whenever we call you. I hadn't been in that spot before as a waiting free agent, but I know guys that knew they were going to certain destinations before the season kicked off, too. And here's the other side. That can also change because the makeup of your team for a veteran can determine a lot, whether he comes to a place like Nashville or if he goes to a place like Green Bay. So you got to set that up that, look, we'll take you if you want to be here more than anything, instead of saying it's signed, sealed, and delivered without signing the paper.
Basically, it would allow someone like Kaiser White to say, I'll sign after mandatory minicamp. That way I don't have to show up for mandatory minicamp.
And it's done in a respectful way, too. Yeah, absolutely.
So that does happen.
It does happen. Yes, it does. Even with trades, like, hey, I'm probably agents to talk to the team, not the players. Hey, he's probably about to get cut here, and he wants to come over here. Wants to come to your team. Those conversations happen. Nothing in the league is usually by surprise.
615-737-1045. Who is the most underrated player on the Tennessee Titans roster? Pro Football Focus made a pick that I don't necessarily agree with. We'll talk about that next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Listen to me. Don't wait. Go ahead and find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked, and it's just a simple test. And with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back right there. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office either. Their physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy or TRT for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients. And super important, the personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments. No, absolutely not. And for your current customers, too, Low T Center is offering you a $150 referral fee for each new patient that you refer. At Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So, get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. It's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
It is 9:01 from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. Friday, San Francisco 49ers paid their quarterback as Brock Purdy agreed on a massive 5-year, $265 million extension. The deal includes $181 million in guarantees, and he'll have an average of $53 million per year. The conference finals are set. In the NBA, the New York Knicks will face the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 is in New York on Wednesday. The Oklahoma City Thunder will face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Final, with Game 1 set for tomorrow night in OKC. To the NHL, the Dallas Stars advance to the Western Conference Finals to face the Edmonton Oilers. Game 1 is in Dallas Wednesday night. And the Florida Panthers are heading to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Carolina Hurricanes, with Game 1 set for tomorrow night in Raleigh. Tennessee Vols baseball, they lost their 5th straight SEC series over the weekend and the regular season finale against the Arkansas Razorbacks, losing 2-1. Tennessee finishes the season in SEC play 16-14 with an overall record on the season of 41-15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour here already, kicking off a new week and your Monday morning on Ramon and Will. We are fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran, Vol Network analyst Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. Coming up in 15 minutes, your chance to complain about anyone in the world of sports in your life, in your drive to work this morning. We'll have time for that in the Monday roast coming up here at 9:20. But Ramon Foster, we're talking about underrated Tennessee Titans because Pro Football Focus had the most underrated player on every NFL roster posted on their website over the weekend. And they say that Arden Key is the most underrated player on the Tennessee Titans. Writing, Key has bounced around the league a bit in his NFL career, playing for his 4th team in 7 years as a member of the Titans. He has gone from being more of a role player on previous teams to that of a workhorse edge for Tennessee, playing more than 700 defensive snaps and landing 6 and 6.5 sacks, respectively, at each season with the team. Over the last 4 seasons, he has a 77.2 PFF pass rush grade, ranking him 38th among 169 qualifying edge defenders since 2021. How do you feel about Arden Key being named the most underrated player on the Tennessee Titans?
Most Titans fans would disagree with that.
That is correct.
Most Titans fans would disagree, and I mean by a large margin, I think, too, because I think those numbers that they read were box scored, read out, I guess, studied is what I would call it, Will, because those sacks that they're speaking of, I feel like came within like a 4 or 5 game stretch, not the totality of the season. What I will say is this, the expectation that Arden Key can do better, I feel like he should be on that list. And I mean that in the sense of like a guy that I feel like with his athletic ability, his drive, his motor, his engine, right? And not only just that, his skill set and being around the league for a long time. He seems to be a guy that could, I ain't gonna say easily get double-digit sacks, but there's an expectation that I feel like he should have on him more than being underrated, Will. Underrated, I wouldn't put him there. I think there's more in the tank for a guy like Arden Key. Now, if that's what they're alluding to,
yeah,
which they didn't, I would sign off on it, but I can't give him most underrated.
The challenge with talking about overrated and underrated as topics is, like, okay, what are they rated? That's the next question you've got to ask, because if you're talking about someone performing under or over expectations, well, then what are the expectations? To me, as a free agent signing that's not making nothing, I mean, Arden Key is on a decent little salary here. He is pretty much right at the expectation of what I think he is. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's properly rated. He's a decent rotational edge rusher on a defense that does not get after the passer very well right now. 3 years, $21 million. This season, Arden Key's cap hit is $9.2 million. That's about right for the level of production you're getting. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you're overpaying him a little bit to be playing into that at 29 years old, but I don't have a major issue with Arden Key, although I still want more from Arden Key.
I have major expectation for Arden because he fits the bill of what you want a rusher to be. His inability to close out consistently throughout the year, I don't know what it is for certain guys with that. They just can't find that switch that clicks the light on. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where he is. If you put him on anybody for that matter on the Phillies team, right? On the Eagles, if you put him in Dallas, if you put him in a rotational role in Washington, I feel like you get a bigger version of him. What I do think is he does need a Batman and a Robin before it gets to him. Sure. I'm not sure if he's necessarily your Robin in a sense playing number 2, the way he looks and the way he goes about his job. You'd almost expect him to be Batman.
Right.
And I think that's what my expectation as far as like where he's rated. I think he can be that type of guy. I just don't know why he can't get it done consistently.
Fair. Who is the most underrated player in the Titans roster?
Most underrated player on this Titans roster would probably have to be, I think Amani Hooker when he's healthy.
I think it's the right answer, too.
When he's healthy.
Yep.
I thought about putting Tony Pollard in there. But considering the offensive line, I think we're seeing the results of what you should get more time than not.
Sure.
But I think it's probably Amani Hooker, and I know a good bit of his fan base feeling different about him, too, with the perception of the plays that he has and has not made.
I think it's a very fair answer for a guy that had 5 picks pretty quietly last season. Amani Hooker played 14 games, yet to have a 17-game season. Played 16 games in 19 and 20 when he wasn't a full-time starter. But in 20, had 4 picks. That season as well. So career high in interceptions this past season. I think he very quietly had a career year for the Titans.
He did.
And to be quite honest with you, was probably deserving of a Pro Bowl spot in the AFC, or at the very least, a strong consideration for one. I think it's him on defense, and I think it's Tony Pollard on offense.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard surviving, playing behind this offensive line this past season. Nationally, he is underrated. I think locally, again, when you ask the question, okay, well, if they're underrated, what are they rated? I think Titans fans correctly appreciate Tony Pollard because we watched how good he was last season on an offense that didn't have a lot of good that was happening.
Yep.
I think the conversation beyond Nashville is that, like, the Titans just didn't have Derrick Henry last year.
That's true.
And they don't think about who they did have and how that guy fared. And Tony Pollard was far from the biggest issue on this offense.
It was. I feel that way. No doubt about it. Do you, is there a case to be made? And I'm thinking through it as you were talking. Is there a case to be made for Peter Skoronski being underrated?
That was going to be my other option as well. But the thing is, when you talk about what are they rated, as a number 11 overall pick, he's probably right on schedule for where he should be.
Yeah.
And that's the point of it. I think maybe Peter Skoronski is underappreciated. I think that's a fair discussion. Yeah. But underrated, I don't think Peter Skoronski's underrated because if you're a guard picked in the top 11 picks of the NFL draft, you should be all pro level by the time you're done.
Yeah.
Now, he's going into year 3 this year, and we'll start to have the Pro Bowl conversation again for Peter Skoronski. I think that's the expectation with a $20 million left tackle next to you and a highly paid center, albeit when healthy, playing to your right. Like, Peter Skoronski's going to have really, really, really high expectations this season in a second year being coached by Bill Callahan.
You bring up a real good point, and it might be a summertime discussion.
Well, it's the summer.
I know. I'm thinking like July.
Memorial Day is a week. So
July.
We're here. Welcome.
July hey, July is like a turtle's pace out here, man, for news. But what I'm saying is this: you mentioned Lord Cushenberry and his ilk that he comes out with. And you also mentioned Dan Moore.
Yep.
And both of those dudes he sandwiched in between have gotten paid.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's an expectation that their play level be high, which, to your point a second ago, makes Peter that much better, in my personal opinion.
Peter Skoronski should have a Pro Bowl season in 2025.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I think that's the expectation.
That's the expectation.
I don't think it's just like, oh, it would be good if. Like, no. Peter Skoronski needs to be heavily into the Pro Bowl discussion, considering they went out and paid for a left tackle to play next to you. I mean, Cushenberry's health, I guess, plays some role in this. But again, you were the number 11 overall pick.
Only, I guess, it's so many guards that you can select, right? That's the only thing that sucks about it. And when the league and the league's fans, the NFL fans, get a hold of those names, they never let them go. Okay, Quentin up in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Nelson.
He's one, right? It just is what it is at that point. Because I'm looking at another first rounder, Kevin Zeitler didn't make his first Pro Bowl until the years 9 or 10, right? As a first rounder himself. So I do think winning is going to help him.
Yep.
I do. If you win, if Tony Pollard's having a year, if Cam Ward turns into the guy, that's going to bring the why question. Well, why is he doing good? And that's what Peter comes into the conversation for me.
You need to have someone that you're willing to pick up a fifth-year option on.
Oh.
Peter Skronsky can finally be that. Finally.
Finally. How long has it been?
I believe since Jack Conklin. Dang. On fifth-year options?
Yeah, man. That's tough.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think you're right. I mean, I'm going back to 2020.
I mean, let's go through the draft history, right? Like
we were having a good time. we were having a good time.
I mean,
Will.
it's the reality of the situation. So you didn't pick it up on Traylon Burks.
No.
You didn't pick it up on Caleb Farley. You didn't pick it up on Isaiah Wilson. But Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeff.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Jeffrey
All
Simmons.
right, there we go.
And again, you gave him the extension so quickly as well that he didn't get to that point.
No, he didn't get to it. What was that, 19, Jeffrey's class?
Yep.
Dang, Jeff's young.
So Jeffrey Simmons, you did a fifth year with, and that's really been it. And that's a reason why you are where you are right now. You didn't draft well enough to be able to have guys you want to keep around.
Yeah, that's very true, too. This is a big year for Peter. I do expect the Pro Bowl conversation. Last year, he did the hardest part to me, and that was the pass protecting.
Right.
He was really good at it. If he can couple that, man, with being a road grader and being down the field in the screen game and stuff like that, and if they win, that plays more into it than you figure, man, for sure.
No doubt about it. 615-737-1045 is our number. When we come back, it is time for the Monday Roast. Load up the phone lines. Roast anyone you want to in your life, in sports, in your drive to work this morning. 615-737-1045. We'll give you our roasts as well coming up next. Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone continues on this Monday. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, and Mondays at 9:20 is your chance to get a little angry. Get a little upset about your Monday commute, your Monday getting started, the work week beginning. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Monday Roast. Monday Roast here on Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's let Jayhawk, Justin Hawkins, bat lead off here for the Monday Roast this morning.
Hey, what's up, fellas? So I've got a couple for you. I'll start off with sports-related topics. Let's go to Game 7s. It's supposed to be the best thing in sports, right? Blowouts.
Yeah, it was not this weekend, was it?
Look, Toronto Maple Leafs, you're not doing Canada any service by losing 6-1 on your home ice. What are you doing? 6-1, and then, of course, you've got you go over to the NBA. You got the Denver Nuggets losing, what was it, 125 to, 91? Was that what the final score was? Yeah.
A lot to a little.
A lot to a little. The Game 7 service is not doing anybody any justice. And with that, people, we're going. All right, so the other one, we'll go away from sports. This is very much personal to me as I live in Murfreesboro.
Yep.
And Murfreesboro roads are, almost every road in Murfreesboro are getting under construction.
Yeah.
Repaving and, flat tires are happening all over the place. You can't turn left anywhere. You can't turn right anywhere. You can't make it anywhere on time unless you leave 10 to 15 minutes early now. So with that, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, it's not great. I'll be doing that drive every day this week, Tuesday through Thursday, and it is where traffic was invented.
Yeah.
Murfreesboro and Chattanooga is where traffic came about in the world.
Although I will say, I made it down to Chat really fast going through there, though. I will say.
If you go like at night or super early in the morning.
Well, there's my answer right there. There's my answer right there.
It's got a little better as their traffic has gotten, or their construction is kind of ended. But I didn't realize there's that much traffic, or I should say construction still going on in the borough.
Oh, it's like all across. You got Old Fort, Medical Center, Parkway, Fortress. There's a lot of roads in Murfreesboro. I almost took out a traffic cone this morning. Yeah, because there was a guy standing there that was trying to mark the lines, the new fresh painted lines on the road, and I didn't realize he was standing there. And me and another car about just took out him and a traffic cone this morning. Yeah. You don't do that in the middle of the dark without a light on.
That's not great.
It's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a little bit different right there. Well, hopefully, Jayhawk, the traffic situation isn't why somebody was unalive down in Murfreesboro off the highway this weekend. That was crazy.
Unalive.
I promise you, it was not me.
No, well, you're here with us, Jayhawk. Thank you.
You're right.
Well,
you showed up to work today.
You sure about
No,
that?
I didn't do the killing.
Well, unaliving, okay?
Unalive.
Yeah.
Unaliving is crazy. Fun. Love that.
No doubt.
I'll go next on this one. So Rory McIlroy is a Grand Slam winner in the Masters now. He has now made it in the world of golf. Well, over the weekend, he skipped media after all of his rounds. Chose not to talk to the media at all. So he declined to speak for 4 consecutive days. His driver was deemed non-compliant. The PGA of America did not comment specifically about the testing results, but said generally it is a routine process at tournaments and that repeated ball striking can cause a club to cross a testing threshold without a player's knowledge. So this is not like an illegal bat situation. He's not corking his driver. This is not something that Rory McIlroy cheated with. But his driver was non-compliant for the tournament. He had to change his driver right before the first round of the PGA Championship. He had an awful week, was terrible off the tee, and got off to a really bad start and just chose, not to speak with the media. So Jason Sobel put this out there, I believe yesterday, and mentioned the fact that Rory McIlroy has always been a proponent that everyone should talk. Golfers should be more accessible, said Rory McIlroy not speaking to the media after any of his 4 rounds. Last year at Pebble Beach, Following his pre-tournament press conference, he stood with a group of reporters for 45 minutes speaking about the need for PGA Tour players to be more accessible. He said he'd recently been to an F1 race and saw how many interviews the drivers gave, both directly before and after the races. He said golfers should hold themselves to similar standards, especially the superstars. Says Jason Sobel writes, personally, I've never been one to get annoyed if a player decides not to speak. I don't need to hear from each player every day. If Rory elects to take a day or two when he plays poorly, that's his prerogative. Tiger also did that, though infrequently. But Tiger Woods never went 4 tournament days without ever speaking after a round. He said he knew it was his responsibility as a face of the game. Rory knows that too. In fact, he has said it himself. Rory McIlroy, get over yourself, buddy. I know you won a Grand Slam now. Rory McIlroy is just getting a little bit too chesty for me. Yeah. A little bit too annoying. We had this audio, too, of an answer he had before the tournament. Justin, if you got this, I put this in there a couple minutes ago. He was asked about what part of someone else's game would you like to take, and he was not willing to answer any questions even before the tournament.
When you're looking at the 4 parts of the game, driving, approach, putting, around the green, if you were forced to trade one of those elements of your game for anybody currently playing, which would you choose, which part of the game, and who would you replace it with?
I wouldn't trade.
If you were forced to.
But I'm not.
If I asked you what part of a game you admired in somebody else, what other player, like who's somebody you admire putting, for instance?
I'm focused on my game.
Rory McIlroy, ladies and gentlemen, Grand Slam winner and professional jerk. Boom, roasted.
Boom, roasted.
Ridiculous, man.
Don't let Babsy hear that one.
And I like Rory.
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh.
Rory is making me like Rory less. That's an he's got friends in the game. Like him and Shane Lowry are best friends. Yeah. Just use a cop-out. You know, Shane's my guy. Shane, you know, he's got a good short game right now. Like anything. Very, very frustrating how as he's gotten older, Rory McIlroy has gotten less likable to me.
You think this is stemming from his Masters win?
No, because it was before this. Like it's just been like, I think for me it's the Liv merger and it's the Liv stuff because he was the face of the guys who stayed.
Yeah.
And he's given up a lot of money to stay and be the face of the tour, be the face of the PGA Tour. And I think it has brought more attention on him and what he says more than what he's signed up for. But when he didn't go to Liv, he really did sign up for this. So
okay.
I think it's that part of it. I don't think it's the Masters win because he's been kind of deteriorating over the past couple of years.
Do we feel like he's in a position where he feels like the PGA should give him the 50 that he could have gotten from Liv? 50 million is what I mean?
Possibly.
You think that's it? Like
I think it's a mix of a lot of things.
God, that sucks. So at this point, considering the relationship that Liv and the PGA have, he should have just taken the money?
I don't think that because I do think there are still some moral bridges you've got to cross to take Liv money that a lot of people aren't willing to cross, and I don't judge anybody for that. I also don't judge people that want to get generational wealth and change the lives of their grandkids and great-grandkids by taking it. I kind of get both sides of it, but yeah, he's become a lot less likable to me over the last couple of years, to be honest with you.
Looking back at it, I think a lot would have taken that.
A lot did.
Yeah, a lot did.
Oh, Ramon, what you got for the Monday Roast?
Man, I got a few. By the way, first one is a quick one. To you people that drive around in cars with your dogs loose. I saw somebody slinging their dog around this past weekend. No. I'm talking about front seat wheel. I'm talking about back seat. I'm talking about front windshield. Just put the dog in a car seat or don't put the dog in the car. That's just where I'm at. Boom, roasted. Y'all got to do better with pets in the front seat like that. I'm talking about this dog was all over the steering wheel, and it wasn't even like a lap dog. This was like a terrier, like a medium-sized 50-pound dog. Do better, good people.
Boom, roasted.
Real quick before you go on, I put my dog in the front seat all the time. He sits right next to me, and he doesn't climb on my lap.
There we go. I'm not talking to you, J-Hawk. I'm talking about to the ones that allow their dogs to get up in the front seat, back seat, on the steering wheel. Like, come on, you're a hazard. If we can't drink and drive, which I don't ever condone, okay, we shouldn't drive and dog is what I'm telling y'all, okay? Like, legitimately, put them in a seat somewhere in the back. Do something with them, man. It's just a hazard, man. I saw that and I almost swerved off the road. But that's neither here nor there. All right, circling back right quick to the gorilla versus human beings.
Oh, here we go.
Stop, y'all, okay? Because
If you missed it, there was an argument on Twitter that started a couple weeks ago that one man could, or 100 men, excuse me, one man would not have a chance against 100 gorillas, that one gorilla would lose in a fight to 100 men.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's just a big lie, y'all. Just stop. In South Carolina last week, a 52-year-old man was found dead inside of a wallaby and kangaroo enclosure from blunt force trauma to the chest because a kangaroo punched the heck out of him and he died. They found him the next morning in the kangaroo enclosure. Y'all, the kangaroo was gone about his day enjoying some carrots, I'm sure. Like, y'all, stop. We can't live this life,
I didn't
y'all.
realize kangaroos were that aggressive.
Well, listen to him. And slept well that night, knowing that it was protecting this house. Boom, roasted.
Boom, roasted.
Jeez, y'all, let's be a little bit better with that one. Keish told me not to do this, so I'm going to do it anyway because I never had to deal with it, all right? But the graduations, y'all, not the senior, okay? Not the 12th grade. The preschool, the 5th grade, the 6th grade, and the 8th grade, I get it. Like, all I got in the 8th grade was, hey, orientation's up at the high school. Go up there and get your classes.
Sure.
There's a graduation. The only reason I'm complaining because my breakfast spot was jam-packed of graduates, okay? And I was like, why all these kids out of school? Oh, they had 5th grade graduation.
11-year-old graduates.
No! What are we doing? Teachers, principals, ADs, superintendents, man. We need one graduation. I'll give you kindergarten, all right? But 8th grade to the 9th grade, all we got told was, look, don't get thrown in the bushes. That was our graduation piece, man.
So the tough thing about it with the middle school thing is there are some schools that are like you're done with that school in 8th grade. So like if there's a school where you're only a middle school, or even there's a lot of schools that end here, private schools that end in 7th grade.
That's real.
So then you have a graduation to end that school.
Yeah. I'm no.
So you're against middle school graduations.
Yes.
And 5th grade graduation.
You're not done with school at that point.
So
Heck.
I had as a kid, because I finished elementary school in 2008.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for many of you. I just feel really old. I was in 5th grade in 2008.
I graduated college. Go on.
So I had a kindergarten graduation, a 5th grade graduation, an 8th grade graduation, and a 12th grade graduation, and then of course college. So I was part of the problem that you're discussing.
I missed all of that though. To be fair, I'm with Holly. Holly in the chat says one graduation in school. That's it. Why I gotta buy you gifts for every single one of them?
We do not care.
I'll be honest. I'm fine with middle school.
Do you?
I'm fine with middle school.
No.
The only way I would push back on it is if you have the same like campus. Like if your 8th grade is the same as your 12th grade.
I can understand the reason.
Then I get that a little bit more. But like for schools, like you're going to a totally different school and campus. You're leaving that building. You're graduating from that campus into a new campus.
Yeah, I totally ride with the idea. But that's not the end of the line for you at school. Jael says his daughter got an 8th grade graduation on Tuesday. On a Tuesday. What are we doing? High school. I just went to a high school graduation in Dyersburg. All right. Boom. Roasted, man. Wait, let's just get one and carry on. 2 minute participation trophies for doing what you're supposed to be doing.
If there's one I understand the least, it's kindergarten.
It's kindergarten.
Just wait till they're in 5th grade.
But that's just like one of those cool moments, like my baby first time out of the house, the scenario of it and everything else. Like that's where I stand on that.
You made it.
Yeah, I get. But I didn't have a kindergarten graduation. I ended up all right. The NFLPA and NFL Premier. No lineman again, and we don't want a charity case either moving forward. Just don't invite us to the rookie premiere with no D lineman or offensive lineman. Boom, roasted NFLPA on that one.
Boom, roasted.
Yeah. And then my last one. Here we go. The WNBA crisis that they're in right now.
Well, what crisis we speaking of?
This Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark.
Y'all
are just dumb. I'm gonna throw that out there. So y'all just gotta stop.
Who specifically is dumb?
The fans who are chanting on either side of this thing. Y'all are just dumb.
Yeah, there's a lot of
y'all gotta stop letting them tear us apart with dumb stuff like this, because that to me was more of a basketball play than anything. What happened was Angel pushed one of the Indiana Fever players in the back, and guess what? Caitlin reacted by protecting her teammate. In sports, we love this when the dudes do it. right? Oh, I was taking up for my teammate. I don't care if I get a fine. Y'all, we got to stop. Those two women are doing what they're supposed to do as far as trying to advance the play of the WNBA game. We got to stop letting these people with these narratives, RG3, right? Put us in these positions to where we fight against one another, man. It's just dumb, y'all, because most of y'all ain't even watching the game like that. And I'll tell you this, why? Because if you really were watching the game like this for the Tennesseans and Vols fans, Lady Vols fans, you would be a big fan of the LA Sparks. You know why? They have not one, not two, but 3 Lady Vols on that team. They are Rakia Jackson, first round. They are Ray Burrell. The last one is Mercedes Russell. Put your focus on the actual game and not the bull crap that they are doing in the WNBA. That's by far one of the smoke. And on top of that, this guy got smoked.
Yeah,
on top of that, this past weekend, man, they made the WNBA release a statement. If you are going to the Indiana Fever game or the Chicago game with dumb, racist tactics or just silly, just takes when you're not even a fan of it, stop. You're dumb. Stop fanning the fire. RG3 is on the Mount Rushmore of this thing right now. Boom, roasted. Stop this dumb stuff. It's embarrassing almost at a point because both sides are right.
Yeah, Robert Griffin III puts out, so Caitlin Clark had a flagrant foul on Angel Reese. In the aftermath of it, Angel Reese kind of goes at Caitlin. Aaliyah Boston got a flagrant foul, technical foul for kind of pushing her back and protecting Caitlin. RG3 puts this out there and says, after watching Caitlin Clark's flagrant foul on Angel Reese in the aftermath, there is no way Angel Reese can continue the lie that she doesn't dislike Caitlin Clark. I know what hatred looks like. Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, not some basketball rivalry hate either. Hate.
Oh, yeah. You're an idiot.
Yes, he's an idiot.
There's definitely basketball hate there, no question.
And that's natural.
But that's part of sports. That's what makes sports great. I think that's good for the WNBA. It's all this making it personal off the court that gets a little bit sketchy to me.
Stop fanning the fires of this one. I think the league is in a real good spot. I genuinely do. It's some really good basketball.
The fact that we're talking about it right now. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, legitimately, I didn't
doubt.
It ran this week, and I saw both sides of it too this weekend. So boom, roasted for the people that continue to fall for this divisive take on either side of it. Like,
roasted.
I absolutely hate it. And you know how I feel about stuff that interferes in my sports. Don't do that. There's so many other topics to talk about, man, other than a dude that's pretty much got booted from a network, fan the fires of hate in sports.
Yeah.
Of people, not teams, of people that hate each other in sports. That's just dumb.
615-737-1045. You can call in with your Monday roast today. Who in sports, who in life you are wanting to complain about to start off your Monday morning. Plus, more conversation around NFL owners' meetings this week where Albert Breer writes about where NFL players and the Olympics could mix in 2028. We got that for you coming up next. Ramon Will on 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the show on this Monday, fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Go kick off your week with a cinnamon roll. Tell them Will sent you. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. As we wrap up the show, the final call for phone calls at 615-737-1045. Owners' meetings, Ramon, the big topic of conversation this week, and the Olympic debate.
Oh, yeah.
Is part of that. So if you missed the NFL's big PR push last week, owners this week will consider a proposal to allow for one player per team to participate in the 2028 Olympic flag football competition. The league office is pushing this. Individual owners will get to react this week. As SI.com's Albert Rear writes this morning. But as instrumental as the NFL was in pushing the IOC to add flag football, they're going to market it and profit off of it.
Oh, 100%. I'll tell you what, they won't allow your quarterback to be a part of this, will they?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, you think so?
I think that's one. I mean, you're not going to get hit.
Yeah, that's true. It's that side of it. It's a matter of, but here's what I will also say. There is a difference, and I mean a huge difference, between flag football and tackle football skills. Like those flag football, like gurus, like they live a different world. I do think they can embarrass NFL players because of their style of play and like the methods that you got to play flag football with. Just because a guy's an all-pro wide receiver, it is a different world, I feel like, with how flag football is played. I've seen it. I've seen guys go out there and try to compete in it that were former pros,
sure,
and they get embarrassed sometimes. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this, because it's not necessarily the physical side. It is a skill and that five-man team / stuff that you got to do.
Yep.
I'm interested to see how many guys go into this.
So Albert Breer makes an interesting point about the game's growth around the world by adding flag football into the Olympics. So the NFL is working under the constraints of how hard it is to play football and the things that you need. So obviously you need 22 players to play a full game of tackle football. The equipment, the money, the pads, the footballs, the face masks, the helmets, all those things. Albert Breer writes about this, says it is difficult to export football because in order to grow the game from the grassroots level, people around the world are going to have a lot of that equipment. Mm-hmm. Not the case with flag football.
No.
Which is a lot easier to just pick up a football, have about 10 people or 8 people, get some flags. And so that is why you see sports like basketball and soccer be so popular worldwide and for everyone is because the game is accessible for everyone in the world. All you need is 2 people and a ball and a hoop, and you can play a full game of basketball. All you need is 2 nets or cones and a ball and about 4 people, and you can play soccer. So the NFL is pushing hard to get individual states to sanction flag football as a girls' varsity sport. And this is why the NFL wants the Olympics to get on board, is it believes that more kids would start playing flag football in foreign countries, which grows the NFL's reach and football's reach as a global commodity versus just a nationwide commodity.
That's a point to be made there. And I think we see in American football now with the 11-on-11 is set up, like even the small stuff. We're watching the arms race in all college programs, right, because of how much money it takes to do this. Even here in the state, we're watching Tennessee help fund some of these turf fields because, I mean, the optics of it, what you need to be a good team, to show that you're buying into the football cause, it definitely is a little bit more complicated now that you say that.
Right.
It's the helmets are expensive.
All of it.
I mean, yeah.
The sports that the U.S. is dominant in typically are the sports where everyone has an easy entry to compete.
Yeah.
Like we are dominant in basketball around the world because basketball is the sport of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can play it. Football, I'm not even having this conversation because nobody else in the world plays it.
No.
So you look at what we are really, really good at. If it's cheap and everyone can play it, where you're not missing out on potential world-class athletes because you can't afford to play it as a kid, those are the ones the U.S. is good at. Track and field, dominant.
Yeah.
You can just go out and run. I mean, basketball, dominant. And football also helps us be good in that too. But, like, that's why we're not elite in soccer is the price that it costs for the average family to put their kid in youth soccer, that's not the case everywhere else in the world.
No,
and everywhere else in the world, it's the sport of the people.
It is. Jayhawk said in my ear breakdancing. And I was just like,
That's
what's
the sport
wrong?
I'm most intrigued about moving forward is how
No.
the U.S. will be competitive. I mean, look at Australia.
No.
They made national headline.
They did.
What
make
can the
national
U.S. do to solidify it?
beat everybody in flag
Yeah,
football.
I'm not
is
interested in
is what
breakdancing.
they can do.
I still care.
Beat everybody in flag football is what they can do. I will say again, the rules are a little bit different with flag football. To your point about guys being able to manipulate and figure out how to play the game because the skills and what you need may just be boiled down to scheme. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot that goes into it. For the NFL players that's going to be jumping into it, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating.
How do you build your flag football team of NFL players? So if it's one per team, quarterback, I mean, Kyler Murray. Oh.
Think about it.
That makes sense.
Now put that in your head and think about
I'd
it.
either go Kyler or Mahomes.
Or Mahomes.
I mean, if Mahomes wants to play, it's going to be
The
Patrick.
speed of Kyler, I don't think the international team is going to be able to handle.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I would argue Lamar over Patrick Mahomes.
Those are my quarterbacks. Easily.
It's going to be Patrick. The marketability of it, the NFL's ability to put Patrick Mahomes up on all the he'll be the flag bearer.
He's not
Watch.
as exciting
Mahomes?
as Lamar.
No, I think he is.
But the
Lamar,
pocket
I think he
escapability
is.
of Lamar is what sets itself apart in flag football.
Mahomes has got some escapability too,
Hey,
though. Like he's an elite improviser.
I don't care if Tyreek Hill is 37 years old. I want him to.
Yeah, no, Tyreek is wide receiver one.
Easily.
Tyreek is
Tackling
wide receiver
somebody.
one.
Tackling somebody is much different than jumping at somebody and grabbing a flag.
And grab, you're right. You've got to catch
I don't
him.
think Mahomes is has that much ability to escape.
Oh, but his arm is so much better. Not so much better,
Well, what
but
if
like
he
his
gets
arm is the
flag taken
best.
before?
You got to decide on who you're going to spy him if you are in flag football.
Wide receivers, Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Honestly, you could build a just LSU alumni wide receiving core, and
There
you'd
you
still
go. We're good right there, right?
Malik Neighbors, Jamar
my
Chase,
gosh.
and
We're
Brian
cooking.
Thomas Jr. and
Defense.
Justin Jefferson.
Where you headed? All linebackers for me.
Safeties. You want some
Safeties.
safeties in there too.
Got Michael Parsons first pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's solid.
Yeah. Abdul Carter, he's as much trash as he's tall. You got to throw him in there too. Young guys, right?
Kyle Hamilton.
Oh, my God.
Kyle Hamilton. You got to have long arms to pull
Gotta
flags.
have long arms. Have to. Anybody off the Titans you submitting? Who's?
I think the guy with the best chance would be Calvin Ridley,
Nope.
because that's the kind of receiver that you're going to want.
No. Tajay.
Tajay Spears. Well,
Tajay.
yeah. Fair.
You got to think in flag football terms.
Receiving running backs are going to be in vogue for sure.
Easily.
I mean, you'll have plenty of options there, but yeah, on the Titans, that's a good question. Calvin Ridley, Tajay Spears. I mean, you hope Chimere Dike
I hope Chimere
has enough wiggle.
Yeah.
Alec Manor.
You manner.
L'Jarius Sneed's probably your best chance, to be honest with
To
you.
be real with you,
As handsy
too.
as he is, he can grab flags.
Cam, you idiot.
No, I'm serious. It's a good part of his game.
Very true.
It's not a
This
knock.
is very
It's a
true.
positive.
This is very true. Quarterback, I throw Cam out there. Cam Ward, his style, perfect for the sidearm crossing route in flag football. Hell yeah.
There you go.
Maybe just put big old bear Devondre Sweat and block the hole.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Too slow out there.
Yeah. Physicality doesn't do much for you in flag football. Coming up tomorrow morning on the show, our SEC Spring Practice Series continues. We'll talk with Brad Crawford, talk some South Carolina football tomorrow. VolQuest saw some price at 8:20. Brian Callahan will meet with the media while we are on air tomorrow. That will be at 9:30 tomorrow, so you'll want to stick around for that as Titans off-season practices continue. Ramon Foster. That is our Monday here on Ramon and Will.
No doubt about it. Good people. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us. Stay safe. It's about the rainbow. Remember at all times, the Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.